Chapter 1409. When the Jade Lake world was in mourning, and the Sea Tide world and the other worlds were in turmoil, Jiang Tianzheng was sitting lazily on the dragon throne in the central hall of the True Dragon Palace in Dragon Capital. The dragon throne was very spacious and had 9 golden dragons circling it. It was high up and represented the supreme status of the dragon sect, overlooking the world. Beside him, Long Yanan was waving her peacock feather fan. Ao Jiao was half kneeling on the ground, boiling tea. Ao Feng was standing respectfully. Jiang Tian lazily reclined on the dragon throne, eating the water spirit fruit that Long Shengnan handed to him with a face full of humiliation. He was like a tyrannical and fatuous ruler, enjoying himself very much. Below him, Bai Zhe and Zhang Qianlei were sitting. Immortal Xiangui, Xiao Bing, Xie Yan, Immortal Yu Yun, and Immortal Long Pujuan were kneeling on the ground, as if they were subjects meeting the emperor. Reporting to the Heavenly Lord and the True Dragon Patriarch, the culprits such as Lord Sun Bojun and the Giant Shark King have been wiped out. The rest are ordinary people without cultivation, but they are also imprisoned in the heavenly prison for eternity. With the help of Senior Bai Zhe, we have killed more than 30 core formation stage cultivators of the violent primitive demon beasts that invaded the island. However, many of the violent demon beasts escaped. However, they have all gone into hiding and do not dare to attack again. Xiao Bing knelt on the ground and said in fear. He had offended Jiang Tian many times and was scared to death. Fortunately, after the Battle of the 18 Islands, he immediately changed his mind and went to Jiang Tian to sincerely repent. And Jiang Tian also needed the cultivators familiar with the Dragon Gate to be his henchmen, so he was merciful and even repaired his dantian. Good. Well done. Jiang Tian nodded and said, Xiao Bing, from now on, you will continue to be the general of Dragon Capital. Your position will be restored. Thank you, Heavenly Lord. I will never forget it. I will be loyal to you and the Patriarch in the future, and protect the Ao family. I will not regret it even if I die 100 times. Xiao Bing heaved a sigh of relief. He had been worried that Jiang Tian would kill him directly after he had outlived his usefulness. However, the regret in his heart could not be erased. If he had been a little more respectful to Jiang Tian back then, if he didn't have any selfish motives and didn't want to replace the Ao clan, then he might have been the Grand Marshal of the Armed Forces. Long Shengnan, can you tell me about the situation in the ruins of Immortality Star System now? Jiang Tian asked calmly. The ruins of Immortality is said to have 100 worlds, but the real number is probably more than 100. Long Shengnan sighed. Every Grade 2 world is surrounded by several or even 10 Grade 3 and Grade 4 worlds. There are too many to count. Some are exposed to the outside world, while others are in dimensional states. Few people know about them, so perhaps only the Ruins Emperor knows the true number. So many. Ao Jiao's face was filled with shock and disbelief. Even Jiang Tian was slightly surprised. He looked into the distance from outer space, and discovered that the Dragon Gate world was more than 10 times the size of Earth. He did not expect the ruins of immortals to be so vast. The Dragon Gate world was only 1%. After Long Shengnan's introduction, Jiang Tian combined it with the ancient books he had been reading in the Dragon Gate world. A vast picture of the universe slowly appeared in front of Jiang Tian's eyes. The Dragon Gate, Penglai, Yingzhou and Baiming Ocean orbited the Hailan world, just like its satellites. In short, their relationship was similar to that of the Moon and the Earth. According to calculations, the Hailan world was only a few dozen million kilometers away from the Dragon Gate world. Even if one didn't rely on the world holes, they could still reach it in a few years with a sublight-speed interstellar aircraft. Even soul formation overlords could reach it with their bodies. As for the Dragon Gate, Penglai, Yingzhou and Baiming Ocean, they were even closer, only 1,000,000 kilometers away. At night, if one was in the right position, they could clearly see the 3 worlds shining in the sky like 3 giant moons. Even the world holes couldn't stop them. The Grade 2 worlds and the ruins of immortality, Hailan, Fertile Land, Barren Desert, Icefield and Nanman, all orbited around the South Gate 2 stars. For example, they were like Earth, Mercury and Mars in the solar system. They were in the same solar system and orbited the same star. However, the Hailan world was one of the more peripheral and barren ones. Just like Neptune on Earth, it was even further away from the South Gate 2 stars than Earth was from the Sun. Even so, the illumination there was no less than that of Earth. The vegetation was lush and full of vitality. It was obvious that the size and radiation of the South Gate 2 stars were at least 10 times that of the Sun. Jiang Tian couldn't help but sigh sometimes. The ancient sages of Wuxia were really talented and bold. They had wonderful ideas and wrote magnificent works that shocked the world. They had pushed several worlds and achieved a long journey that spanned 40,000 light-years across the solar system. They had accurately pushed many worlds of various sizes into the orbit of the South Gate 2 stars, forming planets and satellite systems that operated stably and endlessly. It was an unbelievable thing. It wasn't common even in the central galaxy. However, the Ruins Emperor took advantage of such an earth-shattering feat in the end, and became his world. Of course, the world with the best cultivation conditions is still the Ruins of Deity. There are many ancient sects and large sects there. The Ruins Emperor even claimed to have lived for tens of thousands of years. There is a long stretch of land, spirit meridians and spirit springs everywhere. I heard that even the water has spirit qi and can be drunk as spirit water. Long Shengnan looked envious when she said that. In terms of spiritual energy and resources, our Sea-Billow world is far, far inferior compared to them. There are countless golden core cultivators in the Ruins of Deity. Even nascent soul cultivators aren't rare. Only soul formation grand cultivators are qualified to be called ancestral patriarchs. That's not strange. Jiang Tian said calmly. The Ruins of Deity used to be the ruins of the deity ground. In the ancient times, the deity ground had more spirit qi than Earth, which was a cultivation planet. It was high above the sky, unlike the Hylon world, which was a fragment of Earth. Of course, its spirit qi is much more abundant than the other worlds. Besides, they have soul formation grand cultivators who can use arrays to extract the spirit qi of your world, and infuse it into the Ruins of Deity, then lock it down with arrays. As for the golden core cultivators in the Ruins of Deity, other than the resources, it's also because the Ruins Emperor set up a promotion system and recruited all the elites in the world. The palace of the Ruins Emperor and the 100 Moon Academy had many heavenly treasures and grotto heavens. The overlords of the other worlds could enter the 100 Moon Academy and the palace of the Ruins Emperor. As long as they could make it to the top 50 on the God of War roll, they could enjoy endless resources and reach the ultimate level. That was why the elites of the other worlds were recruited. That's right, Long Shengnan said. So the other worlds are getting weaker while the Ruins of Deity are getting stronger. Any disciple in the 100 Moon Academy might be a nascent soul cultivator, which is enough to defeat the other worlds. Even though Mangu and I are on the God of War roll, we're only at the bottom. We've only cultivated in the 100 Moon Academy for 3 years, so we're not qualified to stay there. But Mangu is in the Dragon Gate world. If you don't take action, no one will be his match. Hearing that, everyone deeply felt how terrifying the Ruins of Deity were. Mangu was only an outstanding talent in the wilderness world, and he wasn't even considered a core disciple of the 100 Moon Academy. He had only stayed there for a short period of time, but he was already invincible in the third-level worlds like Yingzhou, North Sea and Dragon Gate. The geniuses of the ancient orthodoxies in the Ruins of Deity were all powerful and terrifying existences. And the Ruins Emperor was said to have come from a world in the South Gate 1 star. It was said that the cultivation civilization there was even more prosperous. That wasn't what Jiang Tian needed to consider for the time being. After all, he had to take things one step at a time. He had yet to kill the Ruins Emperor, so the South Gate 1 star was still too far away from him. When I complete the 9 transformations of the Divine Disc, and form the 9 orifice chaotic Divine Infant, I'll have the power of the soul formation realm. I'll be able to cross the stellar system and plunder those worlds. Jiang Tian thought to himself. But right then it was only natural for him to take down the 3 worlds, Penglai, Yingzhou, North Sea and even the Hylon world. Aofeng, I'm going to take a look at the other worlds, Yingzhou, Penglai and North Sea. Jiang Tian took a sip of the Thunderfire wine and said, "Do you want to come with me or stay in this world?" Chapter 14:10. Jiang Tian's first goal in coming to the Dragon Gate world was to defeat Emperor Qin Qing, Long Xingnan, and the other cultivators of Jade Lake and Hailan to build a strong defense line for Earth. But this goal was only half completed. After all, Yingzhou, Penglai, and Baiming world had not been conquered yet. And these three worlds still had world cave teleportation arrays connected to Hailan. The ruins of deity and other worlds could still use their world caves to enter the three worlds and attack the Dragon Gate. Besides, Jiang Tian's second goal was to search for heavenly materials and earthly treasures, so that the other 8 golden cores on the divine disk could be consolidated into the true seal of the laws, and the 9 golden cores on the divine disk could reach the nascent soul stage, and push the corresponding divine body to the perfected transcendence stage, to lay the foundation for forming the 9-orifice chaotic divine nascent soul. After taking down the Dragon Gate world, Jiang Tian walked around and took a look. Sun Bojun and the giant Shark King's treasures had been moved over. But unfortunately, there were no materials that could help him transcend his divine body and successfully form the true seal of the laws. Jiang Tian chose the strongest path, but it was also the most difficult path. It was not easy to transcend his divine body and form a divine-grade nascent soul. The further he went, the more materials he would need. Besides, ordinary spirit stones and spirit herbs were useless to Jiang Tian. Only deity materials and divine materials would work. My lord, of course I want to fight with you on the battlefield, but this world still needs me. I owe this world too much. Hearing Jiang Tian's question, Ao Feng respectfully bowed and said with a sorrowful expression, "Okay, I respect your choice." Jiang Tian's eyes were deep as he sighed and nodded slightly. Ao Feng had hidden in the Thunder Lock world for hundreds of years, and wanted to rely on the Thunder Slaughter to improve his cultivation. In the end, when he returned to take a look, the flames of war were continuous. The smoke of war rose up everywhere, the mountains fell, countless cultivators and mortals were killed, and even many of their children were killed. Only the dragon girl Ao Jiao was left. In Ao Feng's opinion, he was the ruler of a fallen country. He had let down the people of the Dragon Gate who had died. He had a lot of guilt and carried a heavy burden. He could only be at ease when the Dragon Gate world became prosperous, and peaceful, and become a powerful world. However, I beg you to bring Ao Jiao along and give her some pointers. Ao Feng knelt down in front of Jiang Tian's feet, 2 drops of tears falling on the clean ground. She is the only one left of the Ao family. He knew that being able to follow Jiang Tian was a great opportunity. He would be able to travel 1,000 miles in a day and ascend to the heavens. There would be endless benefits. I beg the Heavenly Lord to nurture me. This disciple will serve you faithfully. I am willing to be your slave or maid, as long as you are willing to bring me along. Ao Jiao knelt down as well, and looked up at Jiang Tian. Her eyes were red and her face was filled with hope and pleading. All right, I'll bring you along. Jiang Tian hesitated for a moment before nodding. He was most afraid of female disciples. Tang Lingling had left him with a psychological shadow. It really gave him a headache. But this time, Jiang Tian really couldn't refuse. Ao Feng was a determined trader of the ruins of immortality and guarded Earth. Just this point alone was admirable. In addition, he had been loyal and responsible during the time he had followed him. He didn't make any mistakes. If he deliberately kept a distance from her and gave Ao Feng a few words of advice, Ao Jiao might not have any other thoughts. However, when he thought of Tang Linglong, Jiang Tian felt a little emotional and a little melancholy. Sometimes he wondered if it was too cruel of him to leave this girl in the fire worship sect's Red Lotus Hellfire Pagoda in West Earth. Without her chattering beside him, Jiang Tian sometimes felt as if he had lost some vitality. Thank you for your kindness, master. Ao Jiao didn't know that so many thoughts flashed through Jiang Tian's mind in an instant. She thought that Jiang Tian despised her for her poor aptitude. She was so nervous that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. When she saw Jiang Tian agree, she couldn't help but be moved to tears and kowtow. Kong Teichu, isn't your target the ruins of immortality? Why do you want to go to the other 3 worlds? Long Shengnan looked depressed and said, could it be that what you said before about beheading the ruins emperor and dominating the ruins of immortality was just a bluff? Now, She was being held tightly by Jiang Tian, and couldn't escape at all. Only when Jiang Tian and Lord Long encountered low-level nascent soul overlords would she have a chance to escape. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian would want to plunder the other 3 worlds, instead of attacking Shanghai Lan and the ruins of immortality. Do I, Kong Teichu, need to explain my actions to a loser like you? Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold as he raised his hand and slapped her to the ground. Long Xingnan's mouth was bleeding from the slap as her pretty face bloomed. She glared venomously at Jiang Tian with a look of contempt and disgust. It was as if Jiang Tian was just an egomaniac who liked to boast. All right, ignorant fool. I'll let you understand. Jiang Tian's eyes shimmered with a cold glint as he sneered. This is called using battle to fuel battle. Using the resources obtained from battle to raise my cultivation level. Before I successfully form the 9 orifice chaos divine nascent soul, and the 9 revolutions of the divine disk, I will not encounter the ruins emperor. However, I also believe that as I conquer more worlds, I will definitely obtain the strength to kill the ruins emperor. When that day comes, even if he doesn't come looking for me, I'll come looking for him. With that said, Jiang Tian ignored her. Instead, he sent a voice transmission to True Dragon Ao Feng. Ao Feng, perfected Lord Black Turtle, is loyal, and knows when to advance and when to retreat. He can be the left prime minister, and be in charge of the promotion of various personnel in the world. Xie Yan is not bad too, but his abilities are lacking. He can only be in charge of the industry and the people's livelihood. Lin Qin can be in charge of refining equipment and creating a steel master. I've already imparted to him the ability to refine equipment. Xiao Bing's abilities are passable, but he's too rebellious. He can be used, but he can't be put to good use. I'll leave Zhang Qianlei to you as well. He was once an imperial preceptor and a sect master of a country on earth. He's proficient in the art of controlling lightning. This place happens to be rich in clouds and water vapor. I expect him to reach the peak of the nascent soul realm in a decade or so, and possess unparalleled might. Furthermore, he's loyal to me and will help you to the best of his ability. Among the other loyal soldiers who are loyal to the Emperor, you can choose those who are talented and sincere. Even if their cultivation levels are low, it doesn't matter. Nurture them as soon as possible. They should be able to replace Xiao Bing and the rest in 3 years. When the time comes, we'll settle everything together. Ao Feng agreed to all of them and committed them to memory. In the end, Jiang Tian glanced at Long Pejuan and sneered. This guy is the leader of the primitive beasts. Kill him and hang his corpse in the Dragon Gate world for a year. I don't believe that those violent beasts would dare to invade. Taichu Heavenly Lord, don't kill me. I know where the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure is. Jiang Tian was really about to attack, but Long Pejuan's sudden words made Jiang Tian restrain his killing intent. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure? Jiang Tian frowned and exclaimed softly. There are countless records about the Golden Crow in ancient Chinese records. The Classic of Mountains and Seas, Eastern Classic of the Great Wasteland also says, there is a buttress tree on the Tang Valley. One day it arrives, one day it leaves. Everything is recorded in the crow. According to legend, this bird was born from fire and spat out endless flames. It contained the essence of fire, and was very magical. But Jiang Tian knew. This was not a legend. The 3-legged golden crow was a divine bird that truly existed. It was very famous in the universe. Although it was slightly inferior to the vermilion bird and Kuan-Peng, it was still very powerful. It was at least in the top 10 among the fire elemental divine birds. The moment Jiang Tian heard it, he suspected that the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was a great demon transformed from a 3-legged golden crow. This treasure is to be offered to the Ruins Emperor. How dare you say it? Long Shengnan panicked and shouted loudly, but she was slapped to the ground by Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian frowned. His eyes were deep and cold as he said coldly, Long Shengnan, you are now a prisoner. If you dare cause trouble again, I'll kill you. With that said, he formed a hand seal and the invisible golden shackles tightened, causing Long Shengnan to scream in pain. Her bones cracked and she nearly exploded. Senior Taichu, please spare my sister. Beside her, Long Yanan trembled and cried, Sister, don't say anything. It's important to save our lives. He will really kill us. Jiang Tian ignored the two girls. He flicked his sleeves and asked, "What's the matter with the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure? Tell me." Chapter 14:11. The Golden Crow Ancient Emperor was said to be another powerful being of the demon race in the ancient times. He lived on the East Sea Deity Island, and was as powerful as the Ao Emperor. At the side, Ao Feng explained. It was said that he was already half a step away from the soul formation level, and was known as the Sage. He dominated the Hylon world and many other worlds. Even the wild beasts submitted to him. He once led the wild beasts to wrestle with the Ao Emperor for the throne. But tens of thousands of years ago, he was hit by the Ao Emperor's sky-extinguishing sword. He fled back to his cave abode and died. Rumor has it that this cave abode contains his remains, cultivation techniques, and Dharma treasures. There is also a huge ancient Fusang tree with a few golden crows resting on it. Besides, there are many treasure medicines and divine medicines growing there. For tens of thousands of years, the cultivators of the Hylon world and the other four worlds have been exploring and searching for this treasure. But these are just rumors. There are no clear records of it in the history books. In fact, no one has ever found this treasure. Don't listen to his lies. He stared at Long Pujuan and didn't believe him. They thought that this brat was just trying to stall for time, living for as long as he could, or luring Jiang Tian to his home ground so that he could escape. No. This is not a legend. It's real. Long Pujuan had a strong will to live. He didn't care about Long Xingnan's warning look. Ao Feng, the reason why you can't find him is because his cave abode is in the ancient demon abyss of the Ying continent. It is 9,000 miles deep, and is a stronghold of violent demon beasts. Golden elixir realm demon beasts can be found everywhere. You guys rarely enter. As for the deepest part of the ancient demon abyss, the rushing current valley, that is where his cave abode is. Because of his death, the area within a radius of 10,000 miles would be filled with heat waves. There would even be earthly fire spewing to the ground. It can burn golden core cultivators alive, and become the scariest forbidden area in the Yingzhou world. Impossible. Jiang Tian laughed. A soul formation grand cultivator has been dead for tens of thousands of years. His Dharma power is almost gone. How can he affect a 10,000-mile radius? It's possible when he's still alive. Perhaps it's not because of him. This lowly one only heard rumors, but there's no doubt that it's the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure. Long Pujuan hurriedly said. In addition, there is a large formation set up around the cave abode. You can only enter it once every 600 years, when the heavens and earth cycle, and the blazing fire subsides. In fact, the reason why this lowly one agreed to help Long Shengnan was that after the matter was settled, they would be willing to assist this lowly one in excavating the treasure trove together. Then, they would offer the treasure to the Ruins Emperor. That way, this lowly one would be appreciated by the Ruins Emperor, and have a chance of entering the ruins of immortality. Is that all? Jiang Tian looked a little disappointed. The treasures of a soul formation grand cultivator were certainly attractive to him. However, he had transcended the gung metal divine body, and normal nascent soul cultivators were no match for him. Even though the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor, who was half a step away from the divine transformation realm, was more powerful than him, he was not that much stronger. That might even be a rumor. The ancient emperor of the Golden Crows might not even be half a step away from the soul formation level. He was only a perfected nascent soul cultivator. Long Pujuan panicked when he saw that Jiang Tian's interest had waned. His eyes darted around. He was being suppressed by Jiang Tian with the chains of the region and couldn't resist at all. Jiang Tian could kill him as easily as crushing an ant if he was displeased. So he tried his best to provide information. Right. According to the legends, the ancient emperor of the Golden Crows once found a 1,000-year-old fire pearl, by chance called the Annihilation Flame Pearl. This pearl is extremely powerful and can drive out fire for 10,000 miles. Even though he wasn't as powerful as the Ao Emperor back then, he still dared to fight the Ao Emperor with this great cheat. The Ao Emperor only killed him after he took out the heavenly sword. When he heard the words Pearls of Annihilation Flame, Jiang Tian's eyes shone with wild joy. He grabbed Long Pujuan's shoulders and asked, "Are you sure? Is this pearl really called the Annihilation Flame Pearl?" Jiang Tian was extremely powerful. In his excitement, Long Pujuan's shoulder, which was strong enough to withstand a nuclear weapon, cracked open, causing him to grimace in pain. His body trembled and cold sweat rolled down his back, but he didn't dare to complain. He only promised. "The Taichu Heavenly Lord. I swear that's its name in the legends. Please let go of me. All right, I didn't come here for nothing." The Annihilation Flame is ranked 3rd on the Heavenly Fire ranking, and is a deity material. It's shaped like a pearl, which means that it's a fire essence seed. Together with the Fusang tree and the 3-legged golden crow, it's enough for the red sparrow true fire to evolve its divine body. Jiang Tian spread his arms and his eyes glittered. No wonder a half-soul formation cultivator can still spread fire for 10,000 miles, even after 10,000 years. It's because of the Annihilation Flame Pearl. The Annihilation Fire was famous in the Central Galaxy. It was a kind of extremely violent and destructive alien fire in the universe. It was much more destructive than the Red Lotus Earth Fire, and even the Nine Suns Fire. Even if a nascent soul Heavenly Lord was entangled by a natural annihilation flame that hadn't been refined at all, his body and soul would be destroyed. Even his nascent soul would be burnt to ashes. There was basically no chance for him to escape. But Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years. How vast was the knowledge he possessed? He knew. The best thing about the Annihilation Flame Pearl wasn't to use it as a fire elemental Dharma treasure. That would be a waste. Instead, he would refine it directly to increase the level of his fire elemental divine body, and the level of his fire elemental golden core. A normal golden core only needs to absorb spirit chi of no attributes, and use true essence to condense and build it up. It's like a skyscraper rising from the ground. As long as there is enough true essence and the golden core is condensed, it will be able to reach the limit and break into the nascent soul. But a transcendent grade golden core, whether it's a sacred grade, deity grade or divine grade golden core, needs to be refined with treasures and the blood of divine beasts. Jiang Tian sighed faintly, his gaze focused. Normal golden cores only needed to absorb spirit chi after they were formed. Whether it came from spirit meridians or spirit herbs, they could reach the nascent soul in the end. But a divine-grade golden core couldn't be upgraded with normal spirit chi. It had to be refined with the high-level energy in the universe. For example, when Jiang Tian formed the true seal of the laws of metal, he used the 1,000 Buddha relic pagoda and countless golden core and nascent soul cultivators to push it up. Those materials were already extraordinary, but they weren't the most reliable. It was already very lucky to be able to succeed. He also had to rely on the Transcendental 9 transformation art, and the spirit art of all creation. Okay. This time, we'll go to the Tang Valley in the ancient demon abyss to find the treasures of the Golden Crow ancient emperor. Then we'll meet the lords of the 3 worlds. Jiang Tian stood up with a determined look in his eyes. Ao Jiao, Bai Zhe Blackie, take Long Xingnan and Long Pujuan and come with me. The rest of you, guard this world. Jiang Tian took a step into the air and soared into the sky. With a flick of his sleeves, he brought the others and the large black dog with him, and transformed into a shocking streak of light that shot towards the transportation formation of the realm cave. We'll see you off, Lord of Taichu. On the ground, ancestral patriarch Ao Feng, perfected Xiangui, Xiao Bing and Xie Yin knelt on the ground with sincere eyes. Hey, why are you leaving? What about me? You didn't bring me along. Do you think I'm weak? Jiang Tian, you've changed your mind. Only Zhang Qianlei stood there in a daze, staring at Jiang Tian's golden beam of light. His face was filled with hidden bitterness, and he was so depressed that he almost coughed up blood. The Yingzhou world. On an extremely secretive teleportation formation, a burst of brilliance flashed, and a few figures appeared. A black-haired, black-eyed young man with a folding fan in his hand was leading the group. Behind him was a green-clothed manservant with a disdainful look in his eyes. There was also a black-veiled woman with a curvaceous figure, and an old man with a bamboo hat on his head. There was also a big black dog that had eaten so much that its eyes darted around. It was a strange combination. It was Jiang Tian's team. Jiang Tian stepped forward and scanned the surroundings with his immortal will. The spirit qi here was very strong, and it was also a sacred place for cultivation. It was even stronger than that of the Dragon Gate world. The mountains stretched on the smooth cliffs. There were fragrant grasses growing. Ginseng was inhaling and exhaling, and vines as thick as thighs were coiling and climbing like dragons. Giant trees covered the sky, and it was full of a wild aura. Qilin lay under the bluestone, and a silver waterfall cascaded down like a waterfall. Spiritual birds danced in the air, and old herbs were fragrant. What a blessed land! Qin Shi Huang even looked for it back then. But he was just looking for fish on a tree. Jiang Tian withdrew his immortal will, and sighed with a hint of mockery. Chapter 14:12. This world had a radius of tens of thousands of miles, and was much larger than the Dragon Gate world. However, this was not an ocean world, but a vast continent. It used to be an immortal island in the East Sea on ancient Earth. Now it had been pushed into the South Gate 1 star system. According to legend, Qin Shi Huang had once sent Su Fu to lead 2,000 boys and girls to the east to find the elixir of immortality on Yingzhou and Punglai. However, nothing was found in the end, and Qin Shi Huang did not realize his dream of immortality. Li Bai had once? It was written in the Song of Heavenly Matriarch in Dream Traversing. Seafarers talk about Yingzhou, but trust is hard to find. After knowing the truth of many prehistoric civilizations, Jiang Tian could not help but sigh. Yingzhou had already entered 2 stars and was no longer on Earth. How could you find it? It was more than 4 light years away. Of course, it was hard to find. Master, 30,000 miles ahead, we will enter the Black Rock City next to the ancient demon abyss. That is the boundary between the wild beasts and the Yingzhou cultivators. Once we enter the ancient demon abyss, we will be in the old man's territory. Everything will be easy. Long Pajuan bowed respectfully. Okay, let's go to a nearby town and hire a carriage. We will go there slowly. Jiang Tian was relaxed, as if he was traveling in another world. The few of them were extremely fast. They turned into a few streaks of light, and quickly arrived at a city 300 miles away. This city was called Yong City. It was one of the 13 large cities in the Yingzhou world. It had a population of 10 million. There were many skyscrapers, cities in the air, and floating palaces. Foundation establishment cultivators could be seen everywhere. It looked very prosperous. In order to not attract attention, everyone restrain your aura and suppress your cultivation to the foundation establishment level. Jiang Tian landed in a remote alley in the city and scanned everyone. Suppress cultivation? You make it sound so simple. How do we suppress it? Long Xingnan frowned. Long Pajuan was also puzzled. Retracting one's aura and suppressing one's cultivation was very simple for Jiang Tian. However, for many people, it was the ultimate technique. Otherwise, all he had to do was to rein in his aura and suppress his cultivation during the tribulation, and he would be able to escape the lightning tribulation. Moreover, when fighting with others, it would be convenient to cheat and catch them off guard. Wouldn't that be successful in every endeavor? Hey, old black, pass it on to them. Jiang Tian held his forehead and sighed helplessly. Dragon Gate? You're even on the war god list? Aren't you very powerful, Long Xingnan? He didn't even know how to do this. Trash. Disdain was written all over the large black dog's face. When I was 3 years old, I already knew this basic martial art. I'll teach you now. Hurry up and learn. You. Long Xingnan wanted to cry but had no tears. However, when the large black dog taught her this mysterious technique, she couldn't help but gasp in amazement, her shock reaching the extreme. This cultivation technique was not as simple as suppressing one's cultivation. At the same time, it was constantly refining one's true origin and tempering one's soul. It was very beneficial for stabilizing one's foundation and increasing one's battle prowess. After the large black dog finished teaching the 2 of them their cultivation techniques, everyone suppressed their cultivation levels to the foundation establishment realm. They didn't reveal their true strength. Under Long Pajuan's guidance, Jiang Tian arrived at a market and found a large trading company. Little brother, I want to buy a flood horse and a carriage. The price is not a problem. Long Pajuan walked forward like an old servant, bowed, and cupped his hands as he spoke to a yellow-clothed shop assistant with a face full of joy. At this moment, his cultivation was suppressed, and his divine aura was restrained. Even his eyes were a little turbid, and his back was hunched. He didn't look like a violent demonic beast at all. The flood horse was a hybrid beast between a flood dragon and a horse. It had dragon scales on its body and could ride the clouds and mist. It could travel thousands of miles in a day and was very fast. It had some of the attributes of a flood dragon, and the gentle nature of a horse. It was the favorite mount of the cultivators in this area. I'm sorry. Our flood horses have all been reserved by the son of Yong City's city lord, Su Jian. I can't sell them to you. The yellow-clothed shop assistant shook his head, looking like he couldn't help. What about the black flame air-treading horse? Long Pajuan was taken aback and asked again. It's my fault for not telling you clearly. The horses and birds in my shop, as well as the exotic beasts, have all been reserved. The rest are all mortal beasts. The yellow-clothed shop assistant's eyes darted around. However, it seems like you aren't mortals. You should be cultivators. I'm afraid mortal beasts are useless. That's right. Long Pajuan nodded, then frowned and smiled bitterly. Have all the horses and beasts here been bought by young Master Su? That's right. The yellow-clothed shop assistant winked. Young Master Su has a big operation. Are you going to Black Rock City? Long Pajuan looked at Jiang Tian and didn't say anything. Jiang Tian nodded and said, That's right. We are going to the ancient demon abyss. How about this? I have a map of the ancient demon abyss for sale. The shallowest 1,000 miles is very detailed. All kinds of violent demon beasts, spirit designs, and traps are available. It's only 5 million crystals. The yellow-clothed shop assistant immediately smiled. I see. Jiang Tian was about to decline politely. Long Pajuan knew the way. The ancient demon abyss was one of his strongholds, so he didn't need his information. Brother, are you going to the ancient demon abyss? Why don't you travel with the Su family? Our young master is gathering cultivators from all over to explore the ancient demon abyss, while the restrictions are open. Brother, you seem to be a foundation establishment cultivator, so you are fully qualified to travel with us. At that time, you can enjoy all kinds of information for free. Moreover, once you obtain treasures, our young master will definitely reward you accordingly. At this time, a deep voice sounded. A tall man in black heavy armor, surrounded by black water, and with a face full of rust, walked over with a majestic gait. He wasn't surrounded by ordinary water vapor, but a type of Xianming primordial water. It was extremely heavy as a mountain. It could crush a foundation establishment cultivator to death. His cultivation was at the early Jindan stage. Forget it. I'm just an itinerant cultivator. I don't like to travel with others. Jiang Tian frowned and glanced at Long Pajuan. I bought this information from a former curator of the Yingzhou World's Museum of Ancient History, but it's not exclusive. It seems like he has sold it to someone else. Long Pajuan's forehead was covered in sweat. He was extremely embarrassed. Logically speaking, he was the master of the ancient demon abyss, and that was his territory. However, the first person to confirm the location of the ancient Golden Crow Emperor's inheritance was not him, but an old man buried in old books. Now that the news was leaked, the Su family wasn't the only family that coveted the inheritance. Many other forces would probably act. It's fine. As long as I'm there, no one has the right to snatch it from me. Jiang Tian's face was as calm as an ancient well. Brother, think about it again. You have to know that without an experienced guide, even a golden core perfected lord can only go a few hundred miles. Soon, they will be lost in the heat currents and even be torn to pieces by the violent demon beasts. The black-armored cultivator was still unwilling to give up, and continued to persuade him. Although Jiang Tian and the others had suppressed their cultivation level to the foundation establishment realm, and didn't show it, Bai Zhe, Long Xingnan, Ao Jiao, and Long Pajuan all had special bloodlines and were outstanding people. Clearly, their heritage was extraordinary, and they had deliberately suppressed their cultivation level. Therefore, the black-armored cultivator didn't want to miss it. Jiang Tian and the others were preparing to leave. If worse came to worst, he could just fly over on his flying sword. A distance of 30,000 kilometers was something that Jiang Tian could cover in an instant. Suddenly, a purple-robed manager walked down and clasped his hands at the black-armored cultivator. So Guard Gua is here. All kinds of carriages and Dharma treasures are ready. You can take them away now. However, is the Su family going to the ancient demon abyss for the 1,000-year-old medicine again? 1,000-year-old medicine? Hearing this name, Jiang Tian suddenly stopped in his tracks. This name was actually another name for the divine medicine of immortality. Back then, even Qin Shi Huang was looking for it, and had sent Su Fu to the east to look for it. Qin Shi Huang was indeed looking for fish. At that time, Yingzhou Deity Island had already left the solar system. Whether it existed or not, he couldn't have found it. However, Jiang Tian knew that the divine medicine of immortality, or the 1,000-year-old medicine, did exist. The 1,000-year-old medicine was called a divine medicine. It contained the essence of the world and was much more powerful than treasure medicines, sacred medicines and deity herbs. Also, it was very effective and could push any kind of golden core to the nascent soul level, regardless of element. His eyes glittered as he looked at Guard Gua and asked, "Do you have any news about the 1,000-year-old medicine?" Chapter 14:13. Perhaps you don't know. This is Guard Gua, one of the leaders of the Su family's guards. The madam of the Su family comes from the royal family, the Kangwu Qi family. Thousands of years ago, the ancestors of the Qi family found traces of the millennium medicine in the ancient demon abyss. The purple-clothed manager explained. However, there was a black snake and a 9-headed phoenix guarding the place. Moreover, the millennium medicine had already transformed and could move around. Therefore, it was not easy to find. For thousands of years, the Qi family and the Su family had sent people to explore many times, but they returned empty-handed. A black snake and a 9-headed phoenix guarding it? When Jiang Tian heard this, he could confirm that the elixir of immortality was real. This was because the black snake and the 9-headed phoenix needed the spiritual qi of the elixir of immortality to evolve and become stronger. They were considered accompanying mystical beasts. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have known this detail. He glared at Long Pejuan and said with his divine sense, "Why did you hide the news of the elixir of immortality? Do you want to die?" "I have no intention of hiding it." Long Pejuan was so frightened that his legs trembled. He begged. However, the elixir of immortality has already gained sentience and can transform at will. It can move around as if it is flying. The ancient demon abyss is very large, and it has no fixed location. It is impossible to find. I have never seen it before. I do not dare to say anything that I am not sure of. If you return empty-handed and blame me. Jiang Tian snorted and said with his divine sense, "If you dare to hide anything from me, I will skin you alive." Yes, 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 yes. Long Pejuan was almost scared to death by Jiang Tian. However, this time we will definitely succeed. We will not return empty-handed. Guard Gua did not notice the communication between Jiang Tian and Long Pejuan. He glared at the manager and said confidently, "This time, the heavenly king of immortality is here." This time, it was Realm Master Qi Jiui who personally gave the order. Even the Kangwu guards were mobilized. There are thousands of Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators, and hundreds of Golden Core cultivators. Even Qi Jiui's most beloved princess Qi Liqui is personally supervising the battle. He cupped his hands at Jiang Tian and said patiently, "Brother Jiang Tian, we will follow you. Little brother, as long as you follow us, you will be greatly rewarded after this matter is completed. 100 million crystal stones is nothing." "All right," Jiang Tian nodded. "If the reward is reasonable, we can go with you." "For real?" Bodyguard Guo was overjoyed when he heard this and hurriedly said, "Don't worry. As long as a Foundation Establishment cultivator was willing to participate in this operation, they would first receive a reward of 5 million crystal stones. Once we succeed, there will be more rewards." As he spoke, he called for people to prepare all kinds of flood horses and spirit birds. Together, they rushed to the gathering place of the Su family cultivators. The purple-clothed manager looked at Jiang Tian and gently shook his head. This rogue cultivator really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Was it so easy to earn money from the Su and Qi families? Even if they went, they would only be cannon fodder. In the square in the center of the city, there were already hundreds of cultivators gathered in front of the city lord's residence. There were 300 to 400 foundation establishment cultivators, and dozens of golden core cultivators. Some of them had even reached the late stage of the golden core level, and were grand perfected cultivators. Guard Gua, Madame Su is calling for you. A cultivator stepped forward to report. Okay, Brother Jiang. You wait here first. We'll be leaving soon. Bodyguard Gua smiled apologetically and flew into the sky. Master, why are we going with them? Ao Jiao asked with her immortal will. Long Pejuan knows more about the treasures of the ancient emperor of the Golden Crow, but the Su and Qi families know more about the divine medicine of immortality. Jiang Tian said. We'll use their information and then split up when the time comes. By then, Jiang Tian's goal had changed. He wanted to get the divine medicine of immortality and the treasures of the ancient emperor of the Golden Crow. I don't think that's a good idea. Ao Jiao felt that it was inappropriate for Jiang Tian to do so. Jiang Tian obviously wanted to monopolize the divine medicine of immortality, and didn't plan to give it to the Su and Qi families. What's wrong with that? Jiang Tian smiled and said. Do you think they're kind people? This was not an exploration and treasure hunt in which they were united as one, advancing and retreating together. The Su family is just using us as cannon fodder. At this time, Jiang Tian spread out his divine sense and clearly heard the whispers of the crowd through divine sense. They'll give us 5 million spirit stones for the first 1,000 miles. It's safer there. We'll stay with them for a while. Don't follow them after the 1,000 miles. I heard that when perfected cultivator Zhou Yi was with them last time, they used him as cannon fodder when they attacked. Zhou Yi's golden core was swallowed and he lost all his cultivation. The Su family is cruel and ruthless. We can't be too rigid. Let's just slack off. Lady Su and Lord Su Jian are here. As a voice rang out, several long rainbows emitted the rumbling sounds of supersonic fighter jets. They soared into the sky from the city lord's residence and landed abruptly, revealing themselves. The leader was a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 30s. She wore a dazzling amethyst battle robe, a true artifact-level protective robe. Her figure was lithe and graceful, and her lustrous skin was as white as snow. Her pair of slender legs were astonishingly long, and her plump breasts were nearly bursting out of her robe. She had exquisite facial features, a pair of beautiful eyes on a spotlessly white oval face, and her red lips were like raging flames. This made this woman look sexy and enchanting, mysterious and extremely tempting. Coupled with the well-tailored amethyst battle will, it made her look valiant and exuberant, heroic and exuberant, full of explosive power. As soon as she appeared, many male cultivators lowered their heads, not daring to look at her directly, as if they were worried that they would lose control of their Dao hearts. A small number of female cultivators also looked ashamed of their inferiority, but their eyes were burning as they looked at her. Even Lord Su Jian, who was pale and gloomy behind her, had a complicated look in his eyes. There was a hint of morbid lust in his eyes. But in terms of cultivation, Lady Su wasn't weak at all. She was a peak-stage golden core cultivator, and could be said to be the most powerful cultivator present. Everyone, we all know the purpose of this trip. There's no need for me to talk nonsense. Madame Su's beautiful eyes swept across the crowd. Her red lips parted slightly, and her voice was languid and slightly hoarse. It was full of magnetism and had a different kind of charm. As long as you escort us to our destination and find the divine medicine, we'll give you the agreed amount of crystals. Now, I'll give you the deposit first. Give me the deposit first, Lord Su Jian said. Yes, Guard Gua, together with a few servants, distributed bills of 5 million crystals to the building foundation stage cultivators on the spot. The golden core cultivators even received 10 million crystals. Those bills were all endorsed by the royal treasury and were highly trustworthy. There wouldn't be any problems when they were accepted. Lady Su, we'll do our best to protect you. Since we've received the crystals, We'll certainly do our job. A cultivator in a black robe took a 10 million crystals bill and said, "But there's a problem with this old man. After all, we're not members of the Su family, we're just short-term employees. I'm worried that you'll use us as meat shields when you encounter danger. We won't be able to advance and retreat together." Perfected Cultivator: "Heyo. Since we're participating in this trip, I'll treat everyone equally. We'll advance and retreat together." Hearing this, Madame Su's brows furrowed slightly. Then she smiled and said, "Use you as meat shields? I think Perfected Cultivator Heyo shouldn't be too humble. You're a golden core cultivator, and so am I. The Su family only has 10 golden core cultivators, but you have dozens. We don't dare to act recklessly. We're worried that you'll act recklessly. All right, if that's the case. We're relieved." Perfected Cultivator Heyo put away the bill. And that's not all. Lady Su's smile was as bright as a peach blossom. She said softly, "The Su family bought hundreds of black crystal battle suits from the Kangwu Palace. Each of you will get one quasi-true artifact Dharma battle suits. Also, these battle suits aren't borrowed, but given to you as a gift. You don't have to return them." What? Quasi-true artifact battle suits. They can withstand 100 critical strikes from a perfected cultivator, and a full-powered attack from a nascent soul heavenly lord. Also, their wind-riding battle boots have the ability to increase their speed. They're divine weapons for escaping. Unless that ferocious dragon Long Pujuan appears, we won't be in much danger. We're rich this time. Lady Su, you're so generous. The scene was filled with joy. With these quasi-true artifact Dharma battle suits, the danger would be greatly reduced and their confidence would increase. Although the ancient demon abyss was dangerous, it was almost impossible to encounter a nascent soul realm demon beast. Also, these battle suits from the Kangwu Palace were already priceless. It meant that their remuneration had increased countless times. The black crystal battle suits were distributed immediately. Jiang Tian and the others were also given a set each. What a good plan. The Su family is really ruthless. Jiang Tian scanned with his divine sense, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. "My lord, these clothes remind me of the star-crowned feathered battle boots you gave me in the Stellar Sky domain." Bai Zai's forehead was covered in sweat. Chapter 14:14. You have learned from your mistakes. You have indeed improved. But it doesn't matter. With me around, I can't control you. Jiang Tian laughed mockingly as he put on the black crystal battle armor. The black crystal battle armor indeed had defensive capabilities, and was even stronger. However, someone had tampered with it to hide a backdoor talisman array. The Su family could control everyone's actions and turn them into marionettes by holding array discs, or even chanting incantations. The Su family's motive was obvious. They were waiting for violent demon beasts that they could not control to turn everyone into meat shields to preserve the core strength of the Su family. However, what's up with these people? They seem to be newbies. The ancient demon abyss is filled with violent demon beasts and array formations. There are also all sorts of unknown dangers. Once a newbie acts rashly, they might attract a beast stampede. That would be a disaster for all of us. Moreover, they are only at the Foundation establishment realm. Do they have the ability to go 1,000 miles deep? Suddenly, Perfected Lord Heyo pointed at Jiang Tian and the others. Everyone followed his finger and looked at Jiang Tian, and the others in the corner of the square with disdain. As for Madame Su, she looked at Guard Gua suspiciously. Young Master Su Jian reprimanded him directly. "Guard Gua, is this how you do things? I asked you to gather the elites of the Foundation establishment realm with rich experience. Not just anyone can come." Guard Gua's forehead was covered in sweat. He quickly bowed and reported, "Madam, young master, Senior Heyo. I saw that young Master Jiang and the others were extraordinary and did not seem like ordinary Foundation establishment realm cultivators. Therefore, I invited them here. Don't worry, I will personally lead them during the expedition. I guarantee that there will be no mistakes." Madame Su looked a little hesitant and a little embarrassed. Guard Gua was an important person of the Su family and the leader of the guards. Of course, she had to give Guard Gua face in front of outsiders. However, it was also a fact that Jiang Tian would be a burden to everyone. If they kept Jiang Tian, the other hired cultivators would be unhappy. Heyo, are you targeting me? Jiang Tian's face sank, and his gaze shot at true monarch Hayu like cold lightning as he asked slowly. You think too much. I'm only doing this for the sake of the success of this operation, and for the safety of fellow Taoist Jiang. True monarch Black Gull spoke righteously and took the moral high ground. Everyone likes crystals, and everyone wants to earn them. But even if you have the life to earn it, you still have to be alive to spend it. Don't be weak, but your heart is insatiable. In the end, we can only go for wool and come home shorn. Instead, Qingqing's life is in danger. Besides, on the battlefield, even if you don't care about your life, you can't drag everyone down with you. In the end, he revealed his true intentions and directly made a request. Each of you can only keep 10% of your remuneration. Leave the rest to me. I will naturally arrange for people to protect you, lest you fall behind and get killed. True monarch He-O was the leader of the cultivators hired by Yong City's Su family for this operation. His words carried enormous weight. Yes, this is how it should be. Senior He-O is right. All of them were at the early stage of foundation establishment, and they were also novices. We're all elites of the foundation establishment stage or golden core stage. We've been through hundreds of battles and are very experienced. And these experiences were obtained with blood, and even risking one's life. Why should they get the same remuneration? Senior He-O's plan is very good. Put him in my team. I'll take care of him. Of course, I'll split half of the remuneration. The cultivators revealed greedy looks. Their goal was not to bully Jiang Tian. Their goal was to get a share of Jiang Tian's remuneration. Do you really think that you're stronger than me? Can you protect me? Jiang Tian's face turned cold. He was about to unleash his golden core Dharma characteristic, to show his strength, and teach them a lesson. True monarch He-O, everyone, give me some face and stop talking. Bodyguard Gua hurriedly stopped Jiang Tian. He stepped forward to smooth things over and said with a smile, how about this? True monarch He-O, I invited fellow Taoist Jiang, and I've already agreed on the remuneration. I can't go back on my word. I'll give you the crystals you want. How about it? As he spoke, he took out a few crystal bills and handed them to true monarch He-O. Hee, bodyguard Gua is really benevolent. I'll accept the crystals. Don't worry, I'll take good care of them. True monarch He-O chuckled and accepted the crystal bills. He did not forget to look at Jiang Tian with disdain. He was high and mighty, as though he was looking at an ant. All right, since the matter is settled and everyone is ready, let's set off for the ancient demon abyss. Madame Su ordered. The army of hundreds of cultivators set off. Everyone rode on their flood horses, white luans, and giant eagles. They soared into the sky and headed straight for the ancient demon abyss. When Jiang Tian and the others were heading towards the ancient demon abyss, an old woman in a black robe, holding a compass and holding a withered wooden cane appeared on an ancient teleportation platform with a little boy. It was covered in moss and was almost one with the surrounding mountains. As she walked, she shook her head and sighed. The cultivators of the sea billow cosmos are really regressing. Tens of thousands of years ago, there were soul formation cultivators. Now, in a few thousand years, there have only been a few nascent soul cultivators. Just a few of them, and they were killed by a golden core cultivator from the lower world. What a disgrace to the cultivators of the ruins of immortality. But this is good. No one will fight with us for the great opportunity that appears once in 600 years. Grandma, what great opportunity? The little boy asked vaguely as he ate the candied fruit. The little boy was only 7 or 8 years old. He was wearing a pink brocade jacket and a cloak with ferret fur. He looked like a doll with a pair of big black eyes. But his cultivation level had already reached the golden core level, and was not much weaker than Aojiao's. Hee, that's old history. Tens of thousands of years ago, a huge dragon and a huge bird that breathed fire fought. The huge bird was defeated by the dragon and died there. Its body was full of treasures. If we find it this time, we might be able to push you to the nascent soul level. When that time comes, even Qing Aojuan will have to bow to you. The old woman shriveled her toothless mouth and chuckled. Her sunken eyes were bursting with divine light. She was extremely greedy. If a nascent soul cultivator was here, they would realize that the old woman's every step caused the space to tremble. The void seemed to help her catapult, and she flew 1,000 miles away. She pulled her grandson and swayed as she followed the direction of the compass needle. For some reason, that direction seemed to be the ancient demon abyss. The dragon horses galloped and the white Luan soared through the sky. With the help of the spiritual beasts, the group traveled very quickly and conserved most of their true essence. A day later, the group finally arrived at Black Rock City. Black Rock City was majestic. The city walls, made of inferior-grade black crystal, were a few hundred zhang tall and stretched for tens of thousands of miles. It was a natural stronghold, and surrounded the ancient demon abyss. This was originally the stronghold that guarded the ancient demon abyss. Millions of cultivators were stationed here. Many of the fortifications and fortresses were covered with Dao patterns and talisman arrays that could withstand the attacks of Jindan realm demons. Relying on the Black Stone City to surround the city, there were many towns and cities of various sizes scattered all over the place. There were both cultivators and mortals, and they relied on the Black Stone City's garrison to make a living. It was very prosperous and lively. "It's too majestic," Ao Jiao exclaimed, her eyes filled with envy. The Ingzhou world was indeed much stronger than the Dragon Gate world. It had produced more than one heavenly lord. But the Dragon Gate world did not have one. This was the huge difference. And from the looks of it, this was not a coincidence. The Ingzhou world's cultivation resources and cultivation civilization were overall stronger than the Dragon Gate world. Back then, in order to build this city, the Kangwu royal family's chief family spent 300 years and countless treasures. I even worked here as a supervisor for 10 years. A trace of pride appeared on Gardgua's face as he felt honored. This time, we will work together with the Kangwu Palace. Therefore, the chances of success will be greatly increased. Madame Su's beautiful eyes shone with excitement and joy. How many cultivators did the Kangwu Palace send? Looks like a lot. This way, the operation will be safe. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. The Kangwu Palace was the royal palace of this world. Qi Jiuai was overseeing it. In the Ingzhou world, all the powerful cultivators submitted wholeheartedly. Jindan realm cultivators were everywhere. Even half-step nascent soul cultivators were not few. Boom, boom. Amidst the deafening roar that sounded like a supersonic fighter breaking through the sound barrier, a long rainbow that pierced through heaven and earth shot out from the tall city wall. The streak of light abruptly paused, and a charming, cute, and intelligent young girl appeared in the air. Shockingly, she was also a gold core cultivator. Chapter 14-15. Are you Lady Su, young Master Su and the cultivators from Yong City? The young girl was clad in the amethyst battle armor. Her every movement was very dignified as she cupped her fists and asked. Yes. Lady Su stepped forward and answered. I'm Huanu, the personal maid of Kangwu Princess Qiliqui. I am here on the princess's orders to welcome all of you. Please follow me. The girl said. Thank you. Lady Su nodded. Princess Qiliqui is here too. Yes. Yes. This operation is going to be successful. Many cultivators were overjoyed. Is Qiliqui very powerful? Jiang Tian asked with his immortal will. She's very talented and has the blood of the Kangwu Fire Phoenix. She reached the peak stage of the Golden Core stage before she was 30 years old, and is not far from the nascent soul stage. She's the top genius of this world, and the most beloved princess of the Realm Lord's King, Qi Jiui. Long Xingnan's face was indifferent. She was just telling the truth. There was not much admiration on her face. After all, she was a genius of the Hailan world. Qiliqui might be good, but she wasn't qualified to be on the war god role of the Immortal Ruins. Lady Su is actually Qi Jiui's sister. According to seniority, she should call Lady Su Auntie. Long Pejuan added. You're too polite, lady. A trace of solemnity and maturity that did not match her age appeared on Flower Slave's face. She sighed heavily. The Realm Lord and the King are taking this treasure hunt very seriously. Whether we win or lose is related to the survival of this world. If you're willing to help, you'll be the heroes of the Yingzhou world. Everyone, we're about to meet Princess Liqui. I'll make it clear first. Be careful and don't move around. If you meet someone important, even I can't protect you. Su Jian's expression was solemn as he glared coldly at Jiang Tian and the others. Don't worry, young master. We know the rules. Perfected cultivator Heo said seriously. Su Jian waved his hand and led the cultivators to follow the flower slave up the spacious walls of the Black Rock City. The lineup for this operation is so luxurious? Perfected cultivator Heo was shocked and couldn't believe it. Great perfected monarch White Crane, perfected monarch Red Tiger, that brat Jian Kuang. There's one more with an extremely strange aura. His entire body seems to be made of venom, and is filled with a poisonous aura. When condensed to the extreme, a single strand of his aura can poison a gold core realm cultivator to death. He stared at an old man in a black cloak who was surrounded by poisonous gas. The old man had a haughty look on his face, and he clicked his tongue in wonder. Could it be the old sect master of the medicine and poison sect, Myriad Poison Heavenly Monarch? TSK. He is a figure of the same generation as Lord of Heaven Voracious Wolf, and is not much weaker than him. He can be called a half-step Lord of Heaven. Moreover, he is extremely arrogant and has been living in seclusion. In the past, he did not even dare to give face to Qi Jiui. Now that he has come out of seclusion, it seems that the Kangwu Palace has invested a lot this time. There were at least 100 golden core perfected cultivators gathered on the tower. It could be said that almost all the golden core perfected cultivators in this world had gathered. There were even a few half-heavenly lords who were close to the nascent soul level. As for Jiang Tian, why would he care about these half-step heaven lords? His attention was on the ancient demon abyss. There was a canyon that was tens of thousands of miles wide on the ground. The narrowest part of the canyon was thousands of miles wide, and at least 10,000 miles wide. As for the length, it was hard to estimate. In the ancient demon abyss, white fog was everywhere and black winds were howling. Colorful miasma auras were stirred up. Some were like ribbons, while others were like huge beasts or demons. They swept across, intertwined, and devoured each other. They seemed to have a life of their own, and sent chills down one's spine. In the white fog, the poisonous auras and the black wind, the branches and vines of the ancient trees that had become sentient extended like tentacles. The void trembled. From time to time, waves of thunderous roars would be released, shaking everyone's eardrums until they felt intense pain. These were the roars of berserk primitive demonic beasts. Looking down from the sky, one would feel that it was like the bloody mouth of a primordial beast. Those demonic plants and violent beasts were like sharp teeth and tongues that wanted to devour millions of living beings. It made one's hair stand on end. Master, I heard that this canyon was created by the battle between the Ao Emperor and the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor. I don't know if it's true. Long Pejuan had a strong desire to live. He wanted to get closer to Jiang Tian, so he tried to find something to talk about. But I still don't believe it. They should be soul formation overlords. Can a soul formation overlord really create a canyon that's tens of thousands of miles long? Normal soul formation overlords can destroy 10,000 miles with one attack. It's a bit exaggerated to make it tens of thousands of miles long. Jiang Tian didn't deny it. He was very sure that this was the remains of the battle between the Ao Emperor and the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor, because it was said that the Ao Emperor used the ultimate sky sword in the battle. The ultimate sky sword. The ultimate sky sword was a terrifying immortal artifact. As the user's level increased, it would become more powerful. Back then, Ao Huang had once used the absolute heaven sword to cut off the heavenly road. And the so-called ancient heavenly road, in Jiang Tian's eyes, was a small planet or even a planet. The ultimate sky sword could even destroy a planet. A canyon that was tens of thousands of miles long was nothing to it. Sigh, with this sword, if I reach the nascent soul stage one day, I can kill the Ruins Emperor even if he's at the peak of the soul formation realm. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian's eyes shone brightly. He was looking forward to it. After obtaining the elixir of immortality and the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's treasure, His desire to increase his level of cultivation became stronger and stronger. Don't worry, my lord. Although the violent demonic beasts here are strong, I've beaten them all before. They respect me. When the time comes, as long as I reveal my identity, no one will dare to offend you. Long Pajuan seemed to be interested. Is it enough as long as they don't offend me? When the time comes, you have to help me find the elixir of immortality and the golden crow's treasure. Otherwise, I don't mind turning the ancient demon abyss into a graveyard for the violent demonic beasts in a day or two. Jiang Tian snorted. That's a little difficult, Long Pajuan mumbled, but he didn't have much confidence in the outcome. His heart was beating like a drum. Princess Li Qi is here. An announcement was made. A woman wearing a short golden crystal armor slowly walked out of a tall fortress on the city wall. Greetings, Princess Li Qi. Everyone knelt down as if they were seeing a god. Even Lady Su half knelt on the ground. Only Heavenly Lord Myriad Poison only cupped his hands slightly, as if they were equals. Although he wasn't as strong as Heavenly Lord Ravenous Wolf, Heavenly Lord Ravenous Wolf had died at the hands of Kong Te-Chu. Now he could almost be considered the top expert in this world. Her entire body flickered with precious light. Her figure was sexy, her chest was high, and her jade-like skin was radiant. Multicolored light enshrouded her, and the precious light was sparkling and translucent. It was obvious that she didn't have a mortal physique and bloodline. Under the short golden crystal battle armor, her jade-like feet were wearing long leather boots. Her two astonishingly long legs were wearing knee protectors that looked like they were carved from ivory. Her long purple hair draped over her shoulders, smooth and silky like a waterfall. Her jade-like face was flawless, and her watery eyes were very lively. Her appearance was somewhat similar to Madame Sue's, but more youthful and invincible. However, everyone could feel her powerful and fierce aura. This was a powerful aura that had been cultivated by being in a high position for a long time. No one dared to underestimate her. Everyone, the cultivators from all over the world have gathered. The search for the medicine will begin soon. But before that, I still have a few words of warning. Qi Liqui's legs were peerlessly beautiful. As she walked over step by step, she swayed gracefully, and her charm was peerlessly alluring. Her figure was tall, slender, and exquisite. She revealed a portion of her flat and spotlessly white lower abdomen, and her small waist was slender and delicate. Her eyes were quick-witted, and her beautiful face was extremely moving. This medicine of immortality is to be offered to a big shot. Once you find it, don't kill it. You have to surround it and capture it alive to ensure that the medicine is intact. She was extremely dignified, and her tone was even colder, like ice that had been frozen for thousands of years. Otherwise, it will be considered sabotage. You will become the mortal enemy of Kangwu Palace and the entire Ingzhou world. Everyone has the right to kill you without mercy. We will remember your orders, princess. Everyone bowed and acknowledged her order. They were astounded. Heavens! The medicine of immortality was known as a heavenly medicine, and immortal ingredient. Legend had it that just one mouthful of it was enough to push a golden core to the nascent soul realm. However, the Kangwu royal family's Qi family had spent so much resources and manpower to capture it, and offer it to that big shot. Who exactly is this big shot? Could it be His Majesty, the Ruins Emperor? No. Impossible. The Ruins Emperor is high and mighty like a god. The Kangwu Fire Phoenix Qi family does not have the right to speak to him directly. Perhaps he wants to give it to Long Baxia of the Flood Dragon lineage? I heard that some time ago Long Baxia's daughter. Everyone discussed and made guesses using their consciousness. They did not know who the big shot Qi Liqui was talking about was. I originally planned to obtain the medicine to raise Jianer's cultivation. I never expected that I wouldn't even get a mouthful. Only Madame Su revealed a look of displeasure. She wanted to say something but stopped herself. She had made up her mind. Even if Qi Liqui objected, she would at least get a root of the medicine of immortality. She could not leave without any benefits. She did not care for crystals or other cultivation resources. Chapter 14-16. Could it be for Kong Te-Chu? As for Long Xingnan, her eyes flashed with understanding. She looked at Jiang Tian. and was filled with mixed emotions. Kang Taechu was too strong. He alone had killed dozens of nascent Soul Realm cultivators. Even Long Pajuan had been captured. Even Mangu of the God of War list had been killed. To Chi Jiui, who was only at the Golden Core realm, this was terrifying. He did not dare to resist. Even if Chi Jiui did not dare to follow Jiang Tian to resist the Ruins Emperor, he would at least secretly express goodwill to Jiang Tian. He would not help or offend either side. Long Shengnan was a little dazed. She felt like she was in a dream. In tens of thousands of years, this was the first time a cultivator was so domineering. He dared to resist the Ruins Emperor, and he was gradually gaining power. Everyone, let's move out now. Following that, Chilikui gave the order. Charge! Many cultivators immediately got into formation. Like a fleet of supersonic fighter jets, they soared from the city walls and charged towards the ancient demon abyss. Ancient demon abyss, 100 miles deep. After passing through the wide entrance and officially entering the abyss, one would feel that this place was a completely different world from the outside world. The vegetation was strangely lush. Many vines were like dormant dragons, covered in black scales. They extended out from the sides of the huge trees and had strange shapes. They even had mouths and noses, as though they were sentient. The branches were like the claws of monsters. If a cultivator appeared, then the black-scaled demonized vines would immediately shoot out like pythons and brutally strangle the cultivator to death. After that, the vines and branches would swarm over like tentacles and devour the cultivator's flesh and blood until there was nothing left. Therefore, it was common to see piles of white bones. They were dim and almost decayed. They were cultivators that had been killed and devoured. The terrain was complicated. There were jagged rocks, cliffs, and abysses that were abnormally dangerous. Between the trees that covered the sky, there were countless strange and powerful violent demon beasts. Clouds covered the area, and visibility was very low. The lead-like dark clouds and colorful miasma intertwined. Heavy rain would occasionally fall from the clouds, and huge lightning bolts would explode. They were like dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, about to devour all life. Senior, why did everyone abandon the dragon horses, green luan, and other spiritual beasts, and insist on flying swords? Ao Jiao frowned. Here, there are a lot of violent demon beasts. Their psychic power is ferocious, and their pressure is great. Moreover, there are a lot of ancient array formations. Many of these array formations have been damaged, and their spiritual energy is in disorder, causing mental interference. I'm afraid the spirit birds and spirit beasts will go crazy if they come here. Jiang Tian explained. This logic was similar to how you couldn't ride a horse into a wolf's den or a tiger's den. The horse was too weak and would be frightened. My lord, you're right. There are many demonic beasts, and there are also strange fluctuations. Even sound transmission artifacts are affected. Long-distance voice transmissions were almost useless. Therefore, once there is danger, it is almost impossible to get outside help. Long Pajuan nodded. A cultivator's divine sense will also be disrupted. That's why we have to be as compact as possible. Berserk demonic beasts roared, and ancient species appeared. All kinds of terrifying sounds rose and fell. They came from the distance, shaking the mountains and rivers. 10,000 trees swayed, as if they were going to tear this world apart. Furthermore, Jiang Tian had a feeling that the magnetic force in the abyss was very strong. The gravity was several times stronger than the outside world, and the deeper he went, the stronger the gravity became. This is the effect of the Golden Crow Ancient Emperor's restriction formation in the rushing current valley. Long Pajuan transmitted with his divine sense. In the rushing current valley, the gravity and magnetic force are at least 10 times stronger than the outside world. It's like everyone's weight has increased by 10 times. A normal foundation establishment cultivator would be crushed to death if they went in. Only a golden core cultivator would be able to withstand it. Even so, their dermic powers and abilities would be greatly restricted. This logic was very simple. It was like how a normal person only weighed 100 kilograms, but if the gravity was increased by 10 times, that person would immediately become 1,000 kilograms. It was like being crushed by a giant rock and would immediately become a meat patty. Jiang Tian nodded and said calmly, Berserk demonic beasts live here for a long time. It's like they are constantly cultivating and strengthening their bodies. Therefore, the demonic beasts here have extremely tough bodies and are even stronger. My lord is wise. That is indeed the case. Long Pejun bowed. You were able to break through to the nascent soul stage and take human form because you used the restriction formation to increase your weight, right? Jiang Tian said with a smile. My lord, your plan is flawless. Long Pejun didn't deny it. Suddenly, everyone be careful. Guard Gua came to Jiang Tian's side and glanced at him. Then he scanned all the cultivators of Yong City and said in a low voice, We have already entered the ancient demon abyss. This place is different from the outside world. It is very evil. Even a tree or a blade of grass can be demonized. It is very dangerous. Therefore, everyone must be extra careful. Don't leave the array carelessly. The team that Kangwu Palace had assembled this time was very large. Other than the hundreds of cultivators from Yong City, there were also cultivators from many sects and cities. In total, there were at least 3,000 people. They flew dozens of miles above the ground. This distance didn't consume too much dermic powers, and they also maintained a certain distance from the demonic beasts, strange trees, and strange vines. Even if a flying-type demonic beast approached them, thousands of Dharma treasures and flying swords would immediately kill it. Even if these berserk demonic beasts were killed, their blood essence, demonic cores would be invaluable. However, no one would casually pick up the treasures. Qi Liqui ordered that no one was to act on their own. There was only one goal: the immortal divine herb. Guard Gua, you have spent a lot of money today. You have almost wasted your time on this expedition. Along the way, Gua Shouwei stayed close to Jiang Tian and the others, as he was afraid that something would happen to them. He even had to help Jiang Tian fend off the attacks of the flying beasts twice. Jiang Tian sensed Shi Yan's concern and worry, so he smiled and sent him a message using his soul consciousness. One cannot go back on one's word. I originally promised to give you 5 million crystals, but I didn't expect perfected Lord Hei-O to interfere. I couldn't persuade him, but I can't let you suffer and break my promise. Gua Shouwei flew close to Jiang Tian's body. Mystic water surrounded him as he scanned the surroundings vigilantly. He smiled bitterly and sighed. This kid is a loyal and trustworthy person. His cultivation level is also not bad. If I obtain this world in the future, I will put him in an important position. Jiang Tian smiled and thought to himself, 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles. Initially, everyone was more relaxed. However, when they were 2,000 miles deep, a golden core berserk demon beast appeared and devoured more than 10 foundation establishment cultivators before retreating calmly. Everyone started to be cautious. The battle formations shrunk and resonated with one another. Many Dharma treasures were released and floated at the periphery, ready to strike. After 3,000 miles, the number of berserk demon beasts increased and golden core berserk demon beasts even appeared frequently. A golden core perfected lord, dozens of foundation establishment cultivators and hundreds of cultivators were injured before they started to slow down. Fellow Taoists, let's land on that empty ground and rest for a while before we set off. Suddenly, Princess Li Qi's order came from the front. Right now, more than 100 cultivators in the camp were injured. They had to consume elixirs to raise their essence qi and recover their bodies before they could set off once more. Otherwise, they would be a burden to everyone. Everyone looked down and saw an empty ground with a radius of 1,000 miles. The ground was reddish-brown and there was not much vegetation. Jagged rocks were everywhere and there were no flowers or trees. In fact, there were no birds, beasts, insects or fishes. It was just a barren and desolate area filled with bare rocks without any signs of life. However, the trees at the periphery were not as lush and terrifying. Instead, the plants were short and neat with a radius of more than 10 miles with some red fruits. It was not suitable for large demon beasts to hide, and it looked like a good place to recuperate. Yes, many cultivators replied, and were about to land when Jiang Tian sighed softly. This place is dangerous and it's not suitable for us to set up camp. Don't court death. Jiang Tian's spirit consciousness was transmitted to everyone. None of them listened to him and mocked him. There's not even a bird in this place and you're saying it's dangerous? A Foundation establishment weakling is a weakling and cowardly as a mouse. We shouldn't have brought him along. That's right. He hasn't even made a move from the beginning. He's just here to pick up scraps. How shameless. You're not qualified to comment here. Just do as you're told. This was the first time Qi Liqui looked at Jiang Tian since the start of the operation. However, her face was filled with disdain as she berated him sternly. In her eyes, Jiang Tian was merely a lazy Foundation establishment cultivator with a weak cultivation. His participation in the operation was purely to fish in troubled waters and earn crystals. Furthermore, he did not care about the lives of the other injured cultivators and did not dare to land in a safe zone. He was selfish, cowardly, evil and stupid. Fellow Taoist Jiang, what's so dangerous about this place? Don't spout nonsense and don't send spirit consciousness voice transmissions. Your authority is too low and you're only a lowly hired cultivator. You can only communicate with perfected Lord Black Gull or Guoshoui with your spirit consciousness. Madame Su frowned and hollered. Chapter 14-17. The entire team had a strict hierarchy and discipline. No one had ever sent voice transmissions or refused to carry out orders. Only the cultivators of Yong City violated the rules. It would be troublesome if Princess Li Qi was displeased. Guard Gua, look who you found. Perfected Lord Heo mocked. Guard Gua, keep a close eye on your men and keep an eye on them. If anyone disobeys orders and disturbs the operation, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Young Master Su Jian berated in a stern voice. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many cultivators landed on the ground. Those who were injured began to treat their injuries, and those who were tired began to meditate to recover. Some of the hungry cultivators also took out elixirs and consumed them to improve their condition. This place is dangerous. Let's not land. Jiang Tian hovered about 100 meters above the ground and sat cross-legged in the air, while maintaining his metal age barrier. Ao Jiao and the others did the same and inevitably attracted another round of mockery. Trash. This is the person you've found? Seeing Jiang Tian like that, young Master Su Jian sat cross-legged on the ground and glared at Guard Gua angrily while consuming elixirs that nourished his essence qi. Cowardly and timid. He doesn't have the demeanor of an expert at all. And you said that he has an extraordinary bearing? Are you blind? A look of deep disdain appeared on Madame Su's elegant and pampered face. She was still calm and composed even after flying for a long distance and killing a golden core demon beast with her own hands. Madam, please forgive me. Young master, please forgive me. I know my mistake. Guard Gua was embarrassed and felt that Jiang Tian was too cautious. However, there was nothing he could say now. There are some red fruits here. They seem to have rich spirit qi. A perfected Foundation establishment cultivator, who looked similar to perfected Lord Heo, and wore a black feather robe, said with a smile. He was perfected Lord Heo's junior. He scanned the surroundings and took a deep breath before walking towards a tree. Everyone saw it. There were red fruits hanging on the surrounding trees. They were crystal clear and looked like they were carved from agate. They emitted a resplendent red glow and were filled with spirit qi. Clearly, they were rich in spirit qi. Oh, this should be a red crystal fruit. It tastes very sweet. The conditions for its growth are harsh, and it's very rare outside. I didn't expect there to be so many of them here. A knowledgeable cultivator explained. Of course, these fruits were difficult for a foundation-building cultivator to increase their cultivation level, but they looked sweet and delicious. After flying for more than half a day, he wanted to use them to quench his thirst. Although this place looked very safe, the black-robed cultivator was still very vigilant. Numerous black flying swords flew out from his storage ring and circled around him as he walked into the orchard. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from behind him. He hurriedly turned his head but saw nothing. However, the rustling sound came from in front of him. He abruptly turned his head to look in front of him. There was still nothing, but the voice came from behind him again. However, he was also very experienced. Without batting an eyelid, A flying sword quietly appeared in front of him and gradually grew larger. The blade of the sword was as bright as a mirror, reflecting the situation behind him. Behind him, the red fruits on the fruit trees were turning their heads. The backs of the fruits were actually faces with noses, eyes, and mouths. They looked at him with strange smiles. The black-robed foundation-building cultivator felt his blood run cold. The flying swords floating in front of him all flew out and slashed at the red crystal fruits in all directions. Crash! The red crystal fruits suddenly flew down from the trees, and the leaves swirled in the air. It was unknown how many red crystal fruits were flying towards him. The Great Circle Foundation-building cultivator was indeed tyrannical. The swift and fierce sword light was like a torrential downpour, cleaving apart countless red crystal fruits. In a split second, the ground was littered with red crystal fruits that had been cut in half, and the fragrance of the fruits filled the air. However, a red crystal fruit rolled over from the ground, avoided the sword light, and pounced on his leg to bite. The foundation-building cultivator only felt his leg go numb, and his entire leg went numb. Then half of his body went numb. He was about to swing his sword to cut off the red crystal fruit on his leg, but his head was also numb, and all the flying swords fell to the ground. "Senior Heo, save me." He let out an extremely weak scream. "What's going on?" True Monarch Heo's consciousness was extremely strong, and he immediately sensed it. He flew over and punched, and smashed many fruit trees into pieces. However, the other red crystal fruits flew up and hung on the trees. One by one, the red crystal fruits turned their heads and looked at the cultivator on the ground with strange smiles. The descendant of true Monarch Heo was already unable to move. His heart was beating violently, and he felt that his face was very itchy. Then he saw another face growing on his face. What's going on? This fruit tree actually contains the divine soul of a golden core expert, and it's very strong. True Monarch Heo was shocked. The face squeezed out from the face of the black-robed cultivator on the ground. It had a nose and a mouth, and it opened its mouth to gasp for air. It laughed and said, "Caught you, caught you." The face twisted and grew outwards. A moment later, a head grew out and connected to his neck. Following that, an upper body grew out and crawled forward. The black-robed cultivator who was parasitized felt a tearing pain. He opened his mouth and screamed, but he could not make a sound. As for the person formed by the red crystal fruit, it was crawling outwards with both hands, dragging his body. Its crawling speed was extremely fast, and more bodies grew out from his body. "Fufu, I'm free." The red crystal fruit person grabbed his flying sword and skipped away. The other red crystal fruits twisted their faces and looked at him enviously. True Monarch Heo was stunned for a moment. He killed the half-dead disciple whose quintessential essence and blood had dried up and left angrily. Ah! Suddenly, a cultivator who was sitting cross-legged in the crowd screamed and jumped to his feet. Everyone realized that a gigantic leech that was as thick as an arm was crawling on his back unknowingly. Furthermore, it was expanding rapidly and he could not shake it off no matter what. "Help me!" The cultivator howled with fear in his eyes. "Chila, you're just a small insect. How dare you be so impudent?" True Monarch Heo shouted loudly. His flying sword burst out and cut the leech close to the cultivator's skin. The leech fell to the ground and turned into a pool of blood that seeped into the ground. However, the cultivator's back was still bleeding profusely. Everyone watched in horror. A gigantic bloody hole had appeared on the cultivator's back unknowingly. The mouth of the leech remained in the bloody hole, and was connected to the cultivator's body. Or rather, the cultivator had become a part of the leech. The wound was contracting and expanding continuously, sucking blood and quintessential essence out like a fountain. Regardless of whether he was smeared with insect-repellent spirit medicine, or used healing talismans, the wound could not be healed no matter how the runes flashed. "Ah! There's a leech on your body too." "Mine too." Screams and cries of alarm sounded one after another. At least 30 people had leeches on their bodies now. Everyone knew that killing the leeches would not save the cultivator, so they flew into the air in a panic. They saw the leeches wriggling and sucking blood. After a while, the leeches grew faces and limbs and were still lying on the cultivators' bodies. They looked exactly like their hosts, as if they were carrying someone on their back. Dozens of cultivators had their blood sucked dry, and they fell to the ground, dead. Meanwhile, the leech people ran away happily. Even the flying swords couldn't kill them all. That's terrifying. Why are those leeches so powerful? Ao Jiao was terrified. That's called the shadowless Taoist leech. It has a trace of the Taoya's bloodline, and is a rare species. It's one of the top 100 poisonous insects even in the depths of the universe. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said indifferently, its larvae are almost invisible. They are scattered in the wind, mist and water. Even the immortal will of a golden core cultivator can't detect them. More importantly, they specialize in sucking the soul energy and blood of cultivators. It's impossible to guard against them. This kid might be the reincarnation of a soul formation grand cultivator. That's terrifying. Long Pejuan's eyes almost popped out. The shadowless Taoist leech was an extremely rare insect even in the ancient demon abyss. No one knew what it was like, because those who encountered it were all dead. He had encountered it once by chance 10 years ago and was lucky enough to escape. That was why he knew a thing or two. But he didn't expect Jiang Tian, who came from the desolate world of Earth, to know everything. It made Long Pejuan even more uneasy. Chapter 14-18. Let's go. This place is dangerous. Qi Liqui's face turned pale when she saw the heavy losses, but she quickly made up her mind and shouted, "Human! Delicious humans, eat them! They're so fresh!" Everyone was about to move. Suddenly, the 3 golden core adepts of the Kangwu Palace unleashed their Dharma idol and charged toward Qi Liqui, Madame Su, Su Jian and the others. Everyone suddenly realized. The faces of the 3 golden core perfected cultivators were twisted, and there was a green, butterfly-shaped bump on their foreheads. The patterns on the wings of the green butterfly-shaped bump continued to spread and covered the faces and heads of the hosts. They were flashing and trembling. It was indescribably terrifying. In fact, the patterns were like natural circuits that went deep into their minds. Apparently, they had already taken control of their minds. Boom. The 3 of them unleashed their killing moves without warning. For a moment, blade auras flashed and saber chi surged like a river. Even Qi Liqui couldn't resist. Boom. Are you trying to rebel? How dare you attack me? Qi Liqui furrowed her brows and shouted. Behind her, the shadow of a verdant parasol tree erupted. It was 1,000 feet tall and a fiery red phoenix swooped down. Its wings swept down diagonally like heavenly sabers, and its claws were like steel hooks. A cultivator who had already transformed into a butterfly and was holding a golden saber was smashed into pieces, and he perished. But another cultivator wielding a sword had already dodged the attacks of the other cultivators. Like a flickering light, he rushed forward, the true artifact-level treasure sword in his hand thrusting out like an azure dragon emerging from the sea. He used to be a mid-stage golden core cultivator, but he had transformed into a butterfly. His golden core was burning quickly and his true essence was boiling. He was like an athlete who had taken a stimulant and his power had increased to half a step away from the nascent soul level, or even higher. It's dangerous. Cold sweat appeared on Qi Liqui's forehead, and she knew that things were not going well. Her Kangwu Fire Phoenix Dharma form had already been used up, and she hadn't regained her strength yet. She would be injured if she tried to resist. Everybody was entangled by another core formation stage cultivator, who had transformed into a butterfly, and was on a killing spree. It was too late for them to rescue him. Suddenly, a streak of golden light shot down from the sky at an unparalleled speed, gently circling around the neck of the sword-wielding butterfly transformation cultivator. Pucci, the sword-wielding cultivator's neck, which was capable of withstanding 10 nuclear explosions, was severed. Green blood spurted out like a fountain. It was only at this moment that the crowd saw Jiang Tian withdraw his palm, but they immediately saw Jiang Tian casually wave his hand. With a swish, the forehead of the other butterfly transformation cultivator exploded. He was also killed by Jiang Tian with a raise of his hand. After doing all this, Jiang Tian did not say another word. He immediately turned into a streak of light and left this place. This type of strange emerald butterfly was called the soul-controlling emerald butterfly. It was extremely difficult to kill and deal with. Even if its host died, it could still find a new host. The cultivators of the great sects in the galaxy felt a headache coming on. Although Jiang Tian had the means to restrain it, there was no need to take the risk. What a powerful cultivation! Qi Liqui gazed at Jiang Tian's back and quickly waved her hand, asking the others to follow. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone flew into the sky and stopped in a dense forest 200 miles away. After checking their losses, everyone's faces turned ugly. During the pause in the center of the red crystal fruit forest, over 100 Foundation establishment cultivators had died, along with 3 butterfly transformation cultivators. A total of 10 Jindan cultivators had fallen. The losses could be said to be disastrous. That's terrifying. A few butterflies can turn golden core cultivators into lunatics. Leeches and red crystal fruits can also eat people. We shouldn't have been greedy for the commission. We should have escorted them 1,000 miles away. We've gone too deep this time. We can't go back even if we want to. Everyone was depressed. Many cultivators had turned pale and were trembling. They communicated with their immortal will and felt defeated. Cultivator Jiang, why didn't you tell us if you knew all this? Suddenly, perfected cultivator Heo stared at Jiang Tian and questioned him angrily. Although the cultivator who died in the fruit forest was said to be his disciple, he was actually one of his illegitimate children. At that moment, he was naturally indescribably sorrowful. However, he vented all his anger on Jiang Tian, thinking that Jiang Tian did not explain things clearly. That's right. Why didn't you explain things clearly? You clearly knew everything. Were you trying to harm us on purpose? Su Jian said with dissatisfaction with a dark expression. You're the one who caused such a huge loss. Do you know how much compensation the Su family has to pay? Madame Su was also displeased, as though Jiang Tian was an evil person who deserved to be sliced into pieces. My master had already informed us in advance. You guys were the ones who refused to listen to our advice and even insulted us multiple times. Now that someone has died, you're blaming us? What's the reason for that? Ao Jiao could not take it anymore and stepped forward, berating. You guys had a death wish. You can't blame us. You should have mentioned those strange butterflies, poisonous bugs and fruits. You should have said everything clearly. You said too little. Perfected cultivator Heo roared. What a joke. You're the one who thinks I'm too talkative and too little. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Jiang Tian sneered and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom. Ao Jiao released the power of her golden core, and a flood dragon Dharma idol that was 100 feet long coiled around her. Heo, you've been targeting us time and time again. I've long disliked you. Do you want to fight? What? The flood dragon bloodline? Heo was taken aback and revealed a fearful expression. He subconsciously took a few steps back as his hands trembled slightly. The dragon race was a large race in the universe to begin with. Flood dragons, yellow dragons, winged dragons and even anaconda dragons were extremely powerful as long as they had a bit of their bloodline. Perfected cultivator Hei only had the black gull bloodline, which was far inferior to Ao Jiao's. Even though he was stronger than Ao Jiao, he did not dare to attack recklessly. I'll slap you to death if you do that again. Bai Zhe was even more direct. He extended his hand and slapped perfected cultivator Hei to the ground, causing him to sink more than 10 meters into the ground. Kill him. I want to eat a golden core. The big black dog's saliva flowed out as he egged Bai Zhe on. Screech. You've gone too far. You're just a servant. How dare you bully me? True monarch Heo's Dantian rumbled and his golden core trembled. 100-meter-long black seagull Dharma form appeared and flapped its wings crazily, causing huge rocks to roll on the ground. Trees that were surrounded by several people were snapped and turned into dust. Gradually it rose into the sky. How dare you resist, you idiot? You're just a little bird and you can't resist. Just lie on the ground and enjoy my torture. Bai Zhe, who had always been arrogant, was enraged after being taunted by perfected cultivator Heo. He did not use his Dharma idol at first, but he did so now. His giant palm covered the sky and was as heavy as a mountain, crushing Heo's Dharma idol. Crack. Crack. Heo lay on the ground like a toad. The next moment, his body was about to be crushed. He's at least a golden core cultivator, and his Baizé bloodline is also the bloodline of an ancient beast. How terrifying. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. Along the way, Jiang Tian and the others were at the bottom of the queue. They did not unleash any of their cultivation at all. From the beginning, they thought that Jiang Tian and the others were just foundation establishment cultivators. But now once they used their full power, the maid and the servant were at least golden core cultivators. One of them had the Flood Dragon bloodline, and the other had the Baizé bloodline. That was too terrifying. Oh no. We've offended an expert. Seeing this scene, Madame Su and Su Jian were a little scared and they were a little scared. Just now, they were criticizing Jiang Tian openly and secretly, treating him like an ant. Only now did they realize that Jiang Tian's foundation was so terrifying. Fellow Taoist Jiang, for my sake, please ask your subordinate to spare him. Qi Liqui strode forward with her smooth and slender legs, looking extremely alluring and graceful. She bowed and cupped her fists. Perfected cultivator Heo was just anxious after seeing the heavy losses. His attitude was a little bad, but he definitely didn't mean to provoke you. Alright, I'll give you face. But if he offends you again, I'll destroy his spirit. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and emotionless as he raised his hand slowly. This is just a warning. If you dare to offend my master again, you'll definitely die. Baizé retracted his Dharma idol. Thank you for sparing my life, fellow Taoist Jiang. Perfected cultivator, Heo knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly, but a trace of undetectable resentment flashed in the depths of his eyes. Chapter 14:19. At that moment, Heo's clothes were tattered and stained with blood. His face was covered in dirt, and he was in an extremely wretched state. We suffered heavy losses in the battle earlier on. Some of them were our fellow disciples, some were old friends, and some were even seniors. Everyone is sad and I understand your feelings. Qi Liqui's eyes reddened as she scanned the crowd. She lamented. However, we can't blame fellow Taoist Jiang for this. In fact, it's my fault for not listening to fellow Taoist Jiang's advice, and not noticing the danger in time. She had a noble status and peerless looks. Her legs were excessively long and she was so beautiful that it was unreal and soul-stirring. At that moment, her eyes were slightly red and her clear eyes were misty. She looked pitiful and everyone felt a desire to protect her, as they shared a common enemy. Princess Liqui, it's not your fault. We all know that this expedition is fraught with danger and casualties are inevitable. Heavenly Lord Myriad Poisons consoled her gently. Indeed, Heavenly Lord Myriad Poisons was a grandmaster when it came to using poison. However, he still did not discover Cui Dai and the shadowless Taoist leech. Princess, don't be sad. Those cultivators won't die in vain. Kangwu Palace can compensate their descendants handsomely, and bring them into Kangwu Palace for nurturing. I'm sure they'll be able to rest in peace in the netherworld. Grand Perfected Lord White Crane spoke. His legs were unusually long and he wore a feathered robe. His aura was cold and ethereal like that of an immortal. Everyone, don't be discouraged. Cheer up and muster your combat strength. We'll definitely be able to obtain the elixir of immortality. Perfected Lord Red Tiger looked dignified and mighty. His voice was thunderous and resolute, lifting everyone's spirits. Fellow Taoist Jiang has a strong cultivation and rich experience. You're truly a rare genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. This is a blessing for Yingzhou. It's also a blessing for Kangwu Palace. Qi Liqui nodded, and then she bowed respectfully to Jiang Tian once more. Liqui invites you to join Kangwu Palace as the deputy commander of this operation. You can communicate with me directly for any matters. With that said, she raised her head and looked at Jiang Tian pitifully with a smile. Her beautiful eyes were as gentle as water. Perfected Lord Black Owl revealed a look of jealousy when he saw that. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. They were extremely envious and shocked. This Jiang fellow had simply reached the heavens in a single bound. It was clear that Qi Liqui wanted to put Jiang Tian in an important position. If the operation was successful, it would be a great contribution. In the future, it would be more than enough for him to become a state teacher. On the other hand, Su Jian revealed a jealous and resentful expression. He clenched his fists tightly, and a trace of resentment appeared on his sickly pale face. Jiang Tian had been infatuated with Qi Liqui since he was young, but Qi Liqui had rarely looked him in the eye. However, at this moment, Princess Liqui had placed so much importance on Jiang Tian. All right, then it would be impolite for me to refuse. Jiang Tian nodded in agreement. He directly led a few followers into the first echelon. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, he walked side by side with Qi Liqui. After some rest, the expedition team headed deeper into the ancient demon abyss. During this process, Qi Liqui took out a map and discussed the route with Jiang Tian. She listened to all of Jiang Tian's suggestions. The route that Jiang Tian chose had many demon beasts. From time to time, battles would break out and some cultivators would be injured. However, Jiang Tian still would not choose areas that had fewer demon beasts. He had cultivated for 10,000 years and was very experienced. He knew that although the violent demon beasts here were cruel and bloodthirsty, they often attacked and hunted each other. They were also extremely cunning. Sometimes, the areas that had fewer demon beasts were actually areas where they lured the enemy in and set up an ambush. This kid is a complete idiot. His route did not avoid the demon beasts at all. After he took over, more than 100 Foundation establishment cultivators had already fallen. Perfected Lord Heo instigated in front of Madame Su and Su Jian. Indeed, this kid is deliberately playing tricks to exhaust us. Does he want to monopolize the elixir of immortality? Madame Su was alarmed. She was wary of Jiang Tian and had an unfriendly expression. Anyway, we have to be careful. His followers are not weak, and their origins are unknown. Perfected Lord Heo's eyes were sinister as he fanned the flames. If they snatch the elixir of immortality, we might not be able to stop them. Don't worry, I have my own plans. He's far from being able to compete with me. Madame Su snorted with disdain and patted the storage bag that contained the array disc of the black crystal battlesuit. After that, Perfected Lord Heo came to the side of half-step Perfected Lord Myriad Poison and sent a voice transmission using a secret technique. Senior Myriad Poison, Heavenly Lord Ravenous Wolf is already dead. The position of the Grand Tutor will definitely be yours in the future. But this might not be the case anymore. Yes, I have my own plans. Thank you for your reminder, Brother Heo. Little Heavenly Monarch 10,000 Poisons glanced at Jiang Tian with fear. No one knew what he was thinking. Roar. Suddenly, a violent golden core ancient demon with a body as big as a hill and a head larger than a house opened its bloody mouth and charged towards everyone. It was a violent Taowu. After being refined by the supergravity array, its body was as hard as treasure metal, and its strength was as great as a mountain. It could suppress late-stage Golden Core Grand Perfected Lords. Behind him, at least 200 ferocious demonic beasts of various sizes were attacking him from all sides like a tide. A necklace hung around his neck. It was carved from human skulls and golden cores. That was the result of his outstanding battle. His two huge eyes were like two blood moons, flickering with a frightening ominous light. Kill. Qi Liqui took out a phoenix feather blade to stop the other demon soldiers and demon generals, but it was also difficult for her to deal with the Taowu. Friends, save the princess. The others were also in a tough battle. The flower slave took out a strange gold garland and threw it at the Taowu, but it apparently didn't work. Protect her, protect her. Screams were heard. When the Taowu was hit by the Dharma artifacts, sparks of fire shot out from its body, but not a single scale fell off. Even Jian Kuang's giant sword and half-step Heavenly Lord Myriad Poison's poisonous gas couldn't stop it. It was extremely powerful, and its roar shook the mountains and rivers. It ran towards Qi Liqui with murderous intent. Just as Qi Liqui was about to be in danger, Jiang Tian rushed past her, leaving a trail of golden light behind him. Like an illusion, he threw out a punch. The Taowu was blown up by Jiang Tian's punch. Countless scales and flesh were sent flying. The fist chi was overwhelming. What terrifying power! He must be at least a perfected golden core cultivator. Everyone was shocked and didn't realize that Jiang Tian was still hiding his power. After all, Jiang Tian was already a peak-stage golden core cultivator at his age. They didn't even dare to think about reaching the nascent soul level, or even the nascent soul level. It was too terrifying. After killing the Taowu, Jiang Tian stopped attacking. He put his hands behind his back and stood next to Qi Liqui. Bai Zhe and Ao Jiao also rushed forward and used their Dharma forms. They punched and kicked the Foundation establishment-level beasts and made them explode, which made everyone cheer. In just 10 seconds, they had defeated at least 20 beasts. Although the other beasts were unwilling to admit defeat, they knew how powerful this team was, so they had to retreat. Princess Li Qi. This fellow Taoist Jiang seems to have reached the peak of the gold core realm at such a young age. He's also very experienced and calm in the face of trouble. Not only that, but he also commands the troops well. The flower slave put away the golden garland, glanced at Jiang Tian a few times, and laughed sweetly. Princess, you haven't found a suitable partner yet. I think this young Master Jiang is a good choice. Princess, you can think about it. Chapter 1420. Hey, what time is it now? The enemy is right in front of us, and you're still thinking about this? Princess Li Qi's heart trembled slightly. Her flawless face blushed slightly, and then she said in a delicate voice, "You've taken a liking to him? Are you thinking about love? Why don't I fulfill your wish and report to Imperial Father to remove your slave status and regain your freedom? Then you can become Dao companions with him." Humph. You're blushing and you still won't admit it? The flower slave and Qi Liqui had grown up together. Although they were master and servant, they were actually sisters. They were used to joking around. You're so boring. If you dare to spout such nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth apart. Qi Liqui was so embarrassed that even her ears were red. She ignored the flower slave and looked deeply at Madame Su. Auntie, did you equip the cultivators with puppet backdoors and formation patterns in the black crystal battle suits again? How could that be? In your eyes, is Auntie so sinister and vicious? Madame Su denied flatly with an innocent expression. She didn't even blink. It's best if you're not. Qi Liqui was skeptical, but she said earnestly. Such behavior is beneath our Kangwu royal family's virtue and grace. As the saying goes, the land under the heavens belongs to the king, and the people who lead the land are the king's subjects. These cultivators are the wealth of our Kangwu palace in the Ingzhou world. As a descendant of the Kangwu Qi clan, you must see the big picture. Auntie understands. Don't worry, I won't do anything rash. Madame Su smiled apologetically and nodded, but her heart was filled with disdain. Little girl, how many times have you been here? How do you know how dangerous this place is? When you face the threat of death, you'll understand that your own life is the most important. They traveled another 200 miles. A nameless valley with a radius of 5 miles and abnormally dense vegetation was in sight. It was only 100 miles away. Young Master Jiang, we're halfway to success. Qi Liqui wiped the fragrant sweat from her forehead and revealed a hint of joy. Her beautiful eyes looked at Jiang Tian with a smile. According to my ancestors' information, the elixir of immortality should be in this valley. However, this elixir can travel as if it is flying, so it is not easy to find. We still have to put in some effort. What's so difficult about that? I have help. Jiang Tian had just said half a sentence. Madame Su interrupted and said impatiently, White Crane Grand Perfected Monarch, take your disciples and stand guard in the sky. Perfected Lord Red Tiger, Senior Sword Maniac, Senior Myriad Poisons, guard the ancient area and prevent the beast stampede from attacking. I will bring people to accompany the princess in her search. The Myriad Poisons Heavenly Monarch frowned and said with dissatisfaction, I am proficient in both medicine and poison. I should be here to look for the immortal herb. How could you make such arrangements? I'm a member of the Dark Parasol clan's Qi clan, and I'm the core of this operation. Could it be that you want to go against your orders? Madame Su choked. Just as Qi Liqui was about to persuade the two of them, the sound of a bugle horn suddenly rang out from all around the group. Immediately after, A tide of violent demonic beasts rushed over from all directions. Their violent roars caused the trees to explode and the rocks to roll. Their hooves violently stomped on the ground, causing the earth to tremble like the skin of a drum, as if it was about to collapse. Even in the sky, strange owls with wings that were hundreds of meters long appeared one after another. They were like large dark clouds, densely covering the entire sky. The fierce cries of the birds pierced through the clouds and split the air, causing intense pain in the eardrums. There were dozens of half-human, half-beast demon generals riding on the strange birds. They had already started to transform, and had reached the strength of a half-step nascent soul cultivator. What? Why are they here in advance? Did the news leak? Chilikui was shocked. The ancient demon abyss was too vast. Their team was like a cup of water in the sea. They were not conspicuous at all. The only possibility was that someone had received the news in advance and had set up an ambush. Let's go. Let's end this quickly and rush into the valley. We will leave immediately after finding the immortal herb. Madame Sue grabbed Chilikui and rushed towards the nameless valley with the elite cultivators led by perfected Lord Myriad Poisons. Run. Ah. What's going on? Perfected Lord Blackgull also wanted to follow. But he suddenly realized that the talisman arrays on his crystal armor were flashing and his dermic powers were locked tightly. Damn it. The Sue family set up a backdoor and wanted to use us as bait. Countless young city cultivators, including perfected Lord Blackgull, screamed as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Ah. Save us. But after Chilikui, Madame Sue, and perfected Lord Myriad Poisons left, the young city cultivators could not withstand it. In an instant, countless cultivators died and became food for the violent beasts. Chilili, what are you doing? Why did you set up a backdoor on the crystal armor? Keep them here. Chilikui stopped and stared at her aunt. She called her aunt by her name and shouted loudly. If we don't keep them here, how can we survive? Madame Sue was not ashamed at all and said righteously. Men die for wealth and birds die for food. They took our reward, so they should die for us. Su Jian was even more dissatisfied and said sourly. Cousin, why are you so agitated? Don't tell me you like that young Master Jiang? So what if I like him? Despicable and shameless thing. I'll go save him. Everyone follow me. Chilikui shouted and immediately rushed towards Jiang Tian. We have no choice but to obey the princess's orders. Perfected Lord Myriad Poisons and the others sighed and followed, although they were unwilling. Likui, you're so childish. Madame Sue stamped her feet and said anxiously. You've been on the battlefield and commanded thousands of troops. On the battlefield, you used a small number of troops to delay the enemy and buy time and space for the main force. Such things happen everywhere. Why are you so soft-hearted now and not thinking about the big picture? Auntie, you've got it wrong. Two colorful and enormous phoenix wings appeared behind Chilikui's back. She flapped her wings and her speed reached the maximum, like a supersonic fighter jet flying across the sky. She said with her immortal will. Sacrificing a small number of soldiers for the sake of the overall victory is indeed common on the battlefield. But as a commander, I've never hidden it from them. I respect them and tell them clearly that they will sacrifice themselves. I let them choose whether they want to participate in the operation, and whether they are willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of victory. It's human nature to be afraid of death. If they don't want to, we won't force them or despise them at all. But it's because we told them everything and they made the choice that they became heroes. A warrior is not an animal, not a beast, not an object that you can sacrifice as you wish. Any civilization, country, or world that hides the truth, plays its own kind as idiots, and sacrifices individuals as human shields, no matter what great ideals they have, bright motives and pursuits they have, and no matter what reasons they have, it is not justifiable. They are all despicable and shameless people who are worse than animals. You don't know what war is, what a soldier is. Guard Gua, your black crystal battlesuit is fine. You can move freely. Why don't you run? Surrounded by the beast tide, Jiang Tian asked softly with a smile as he looked at Guard Gua, who was trembling in fright at the side. I'm going to take you out. I can't run away, Guard Gua said firmly. Okay. Just because of what you said, I'll send you straight to the clouds from now on. Just as Jiang Tian's words made Guard Gu feel baffled. While the mercenaries of Yong City were terrified, Long Tianyu stepped forward. Long Pejuan took a step forward and straightened his back, revealing the demeanor of a beast king. He sent a voice transmission with his divine sense. How dare you? Don't you recognize your ancestor? It's ancestral patriarch Pejuan. He's back. The half-beast, half-human beast generals were stunned. Then, they jumped down from the strange owls and knelt in the air. They said respectfully, "Greetings, ancestral patriarch Pejuan." On the ground, the endless beast tide stopped and prostrated themselves on the ground, their heads touching the ground as a sign of respect. What? Chilikui rushed back dozens of miles and arrived at the periphery of the beast tide. Seeing this scene, she couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Who is that kid? He actually forced tens of thousands of wild beast tide to submit. Those are half-step nascent soul beast tide. How did he start? He actually forced tens of thousands of wild beast tide to submit. Not only that, but true monarch White Crane, Red Tiger, and Jian Kuang were also shocked. Chapter 14:21. Oh no. This kid is too powerful. I'm afraid he's going to take the divine medicine of immortality for himself. Also, he already knows that the Su family has installed a backdoor in the black crystal battlesuit. I'm afraid he's going to take revenge. Madame Su was even more terrified. She looked at Su Jian and felt that things were going to be very troublesome. Now that Jiang Tian was commanding the endless beast horde, they were not qualified to be compared to Jiang Tian. Long Pejuan said, "My children, the divine medicine of immortality is in the valley ahead. Help me find it. I'll reward you handsomely in the future." Yes. Many beasts turned around and rushed into the nameless valley. These demonic beasts numbered in the tens of thousands, densely packed and innumerable. They were like mercury flowing through the ground, penetrating through every opening, and directly covered the entire nameless valley. A while later, a loud noise suddenly came from the depths of the valley. Then, a bright light shot into the sky as if a peerless spirit treasure had been born. However, the moment this treasure light lit up, the entire valley was filled with a fragrant medicinal fragrance. Boom! A thunderous sound came, and the ground shook as if a giant dragon was rolling. A small island dozens of meters wide appeared in the middle of the blood sea in the nameless valley. Boundless auspicious light and auspicious aura gushed out from the small island. Rays of multicolored light surrounded the island, and auspicious colors interweaved and blossomed. It seemed so out of place amidst this demonic aura, miasma, and bloody aura that soared into the sky, as if it was heaven. "Senior, what's going on? Why are the beasts here to help? Will they take the divine medicine of immortality?" Chilikui flew to the front of Jiang Tian. Her face was very serious as she asked softly. "They won't take it." Jiang Tian knew that she was here to save him, so he had a good impression of her. "I'm afraid that the Xian snake and the nine-headed phoenix will appear later. You won't be able to stop them. I'll help you, but I want half of the divine medicine of immortality. What do you think?" Chilikui hesitated for a while, then nodded and said, "Okay. If young Master Jiang can do it, I'll listen to everything you say." However, at the bottom of the island, a huge black serpent suddenly appeared. It coiled its head, its scales were dense, and its eyes were cold. Its bloody mouth was full of fangs, and its red forked tongue was roaring at the crowd. "There are a lot of creatures here. Let's catch them and eat them. They'll become fertilizer for the divine medicine of immortality. It'll grow even stronger." In the center of that small island, a human-shaped white and tender great medicine appeared. Its emerald green leaves were like arms, and its roots were like legs. In particular, it also had a head and facial features, which made it appear even more mystical. Its eyes were black and shiny, and it was incomparably intelligent. It was the divine medicine of immortality. "You want to eat me? You guys sure have guts. You don't know your limits. This time you'll be my food." This divine medicine had already developed intelligence, and its black and round eyes shot out flames of rage as it sized up everyone angrily. It had its hands behind its back as it walked up and down on the small island, and it seemed to be extremely arrogant as it gnashed its teeth in ridicule. As the medicinal fragrance filled the air, the divine medicine actually released a heavy pressure that made one's heart palpitate. It was a bit hard to endure. The divine immortality. Everyone was energized. How dare you cause trouble in the immortal valley? At this moment, a piercing cry of a phoenix rang out across the sky. A violent hurricane swept across the area, causing the heavens to crumble and the earth to crack. More than 10 half-step original infant stage beastmen were sent flying backwards. Countless beasts were torn apart by the hurricane, and their fey cores exploded. Countless people died, and the valley on the ground turned into a sea of blood. Everyone watched in fear. In the sky, wild wind was howling in the sky. Surging airwaves were like smoke signals shooting thousands of miles into the sky. The miasma that had blocked their vision was swept away. They could even see the Black Stone City, which was thousands of miles high. A gigantic 9-headed phoenix suddenly appeared. Its 9 heads swayed in unison, and its mouth spat out flames, ice and sharp swords. Its 1,000-meter-long wings covered the sky, and each of its feathers seemed to be made of gold. It flickered with colorful lights, and its huge claws were like heavenly hooks, incomparably sharp. It was extraordinary and mighty to the extreme. 9-headed phoenix. How terrifying. I'm afraid it's already a heavenly lord. Everyone was horrified, and they all retreated a few miles away in fear. For a moment, the two sides were in a stalemate. They stared at each other vigilantly and no one attacked. Even though the 9-headed phoenix and the Xian snake were powerful, they were also afraid that they would take the divine medicine of immortality away after a battle. In fact, they were just ordinary birds and snakes with a trace of the blood of the phoenix or the Xian snake in their bodies. However, there were countless beasts like them, and it wasn't strange at all. But after being with the divine medicine of immortality for 10,000 years, their hidden blood continued to grow, and they became divine beasts and divine birds just by absorbing the spirit chi of the divine medicine. So in their eyes, the divine medicine of immortality was very important, and they guarded it carefully. Why are these two beasts guarding it so tightly? Qiliqui was terrified. Their original plan was to find the divine medicine of immortality and steal it when the two divine beasts weren't around. But the two divine beasts immediately appeared. It's all his fault. Mrs. Su glared at Jiang Tian. If it weren't for the fact that a large number of beasts had entered the valley, they might not have alerted the 9-headed phoenix. Don't worry, Princess Liqui. My young master will definitely be able to get the divine medicine of immortality. Bai Zhe said calmly. It's just a big bird and a little black snake. What's there to be afraid of? Roast it and add more chili powder. It will be delicious. The black-haired dog stared at the 9-headed phoenix and the Xian snake and drooled. Lunatics. A bunch of lunatics. At this point, you still dare to spout such arrogant words. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Su Jian was flustered and exasperated. He lost his rationality and flew into a rage. He shouted, "That's a 9-headed phoenix. It's as powerful as a nascent soul heavenly lord. No matter how powerful you are, you'll only be a dish for them. Besides, if you didn't order those beasts to create such a huge commotion, we might not have alerted the divine beasts guarding the valley. The failure of this operation is all because of you. I think you're a jinx. I'll kill you for ruining my plan. You're courting death. How dare you speak rudely to me?" Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. He raised his hand and pulled him over. A slap landed on his face, sending him flying dozens of meters away. He crashed into a small mountain, causing blood to spurt out of his nose and his teeth to fly out. You dare to hit me. Don't you know who I am? I'm the nephew of the realm lord Qijiui. I'm the son of the city lord of Yong City. Su Jian flew over and roared at Jiang Tian. His pale face was covered in blood, and he looked extremely ferocious and terrifying. As the dignified young lord of a city, a relative of the imperial family, Su Jian was ranked in the top 10 of the younger generation of this world. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Being slapped in public and reduced to such a sorry state was simply an extraordinary humiliation. I'm already being merciful by not killing you. Jiang Tian slapped him as if he was swatting a fly. Boom. There was a loud explosion. Su Jian sank a few meters into the ground, creating a crater with a radius of a few hundred meters. His bones and tendons were broken. If it wasn't for the purple crystal battlesuit and Jiang Tian not using his full strength, he would have been turned into a meat paste. If you have the guts, kill me today. Otherwise, I'll take revenge in the future. I'll take revenge 10 times or 100 times and make you wish you were dead. Su Jian only had half of his life left, but he still roared recklessly. Jianer, shut up. Young master, please spare my life. My son was too impatient and offended you with his words. After this, we'll show our gratitude. Madame Su pleaded. Her face was anxious and tears flowed down her face. She looked pitiful, but there was a trace of undetectable resentment in the depths of her eyes. I don't believe that your Su family is untrustworthy. You hid a back door in the black crystal battlesuit. Do you want to use me as cannon fodder? Jiang Tian snorted and his face was cold. This time he didn't show any mercy. Amidst the exclamations, he raised his hand and broke Su Jian's dantian, and took his golden core. Jianer, my poor Jian. Madame Su's body froze as if she had been struck by lightning. Then, she threw herself on Su Jian and burst into tears. Su Jian was too miserable. Even his golden core was stolen, and his dantian was broken. He was now a cripple. Even if the God of Heaven was here, he wouldn't be able to cultivate again. In the world of cultivation, depriving a person of his cultivation was 10 times crueler than killing him. At this moment, Madame Su hated Jiang Tian to the core. She swore that she would take revenge no matter what. Chapter 1422. However, Madame Su was not as reckless as her son. Now that the situation had reversed and Jiang Tian was in an advantageous position, the matter of her leaving a backdoor in the crystal battlesuit had been exposed, and the cultivators of Yong City would not support her. From the beginning to the end, Qi Liqui did not stop Jiang Tian, which also showed her attitude that she would not support her revenge. If she relied on herself, she would be eaten by Jiang Tian. Therefore, she only cried and did not look at Jiang Tian from the beginning to the end. Good, this kid has offended the Qi family. Although Qi Liqui will not say anything, this girl is too straightforward and stubborn. But will Qi Jiui let him go? This kid is dead for sure. Only true monarch He-O looked at Jiang Tian coldly with a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth. He was gloating and secretly applauding. Ever since his illegitimate son was swallowed by the red crystal fruit and died tragically, he began to hate Jiang Tian. After being humiliated by Bai Zhe, he hated Jiang Tian even more. Moreover, he had schemed against Jiang Tian's crystal reward in Yong City. Therefore, he knew that if Jiang Tian survived, he might also settle accounts with him. Jiang Tian had offended the Qi family of Blue Parasol, and was killed by them. Of course, he was happy to see that happen. This young Master Jiang has a mysterious background in powerful cultivation. His attacks are ruthless and ruthless. We misjudged him. I'm very worried that if we get the immortal divine herb later, we won't get any benefits at all. At this moment, a subtle emotion flowed in everyone's hearts. Even Ao Jiao could feel that many cultivators were looking at Jiang Tian with deep fear, but there were also some malicious intentions. It turned out that the Blue Parasol Palace had promised everyone, other than a considerable amount of crystals, the demon cores and demon cores of the nine-headed phoenix and the black snake. One had to know that they were comparable to nascent soul cultivators, with powerful bloodlines and treasures. If they could obtain them, they could push everyone to an unimaginable level. But now Jiang Tian had become the biggest obstacle for everyone to obtain benefits. He was not even afraid of the Qi family of Blue Parasol, so what were they in his eyes? His background was mysterious, and he could take away all the resources without any rules. You won't be able to find him. For a moment, everyone stopped communicating with their divine senses. An undercurrent was brewing in everyone's mind, each with their own ulterior motives. Fellow Taoists, please rest assured. At that moment, Qi Liqui spoke. I've already discussed this with young master. The Qi clan and young master Jiang will each take half of the immortal divine herb. As for the two divine beasts' demonic cores, we don't want them. Please don't be suspicious of each other and hold back. All right. Just as everyone was rousing their spirits and preparing to take action, suddenly, several powerful auras came from afar like rainbows. They crossed the distance of a few dozen li and approached the herb of immortality. Someone intercepted him? Everyone turned pale with fright. So strong. Two nascent souls with special bloodlines. We are definitely no match for him. Princess, take care. Without another word, the infinite poison's heaven lord turned around and rushed towards the depths of the ancient demon abyss. Princess, we'll take our leave first. This herb of immortality. Sigh, it's too troublesome. It's not something golden core cultivators like us can covet. You guys should leave as well. Chi Hu Grand perfected Lord White Crane, and Jian Kuang cupped their fists and bowed. They turned into rainbows and immediately fled without hesitation. Since the other party was here to intercept them, there was no need to follow the rules. A man's wealth was his own ruin. No one wanted to let others know that they had the herb of immortality. The result was usually silence. In an instant, many cultivators scattered and fled in panic. Only a few dozen cultivators were left. What? They ran away? Chi Liqui was dumbfounded. Her face darkened. Who would have thought that these great cultivators, who were usually famous for their fighting prowess, would be so shameless in the face of danger? They would disregard the agreement and abandon their employers to run away. In the end, it was Jiang Tian, an itinerant cultivator whom she did not know, who was protecting her. It was too surprising. Haha. Jiang Tian was not surprised. He just laughed mockingly. Chi Liqui was definitely good at leading troops, but it was not the same for leading cultivators. In truth, in Jiang Tian's previous life, he had seen too many cases of employers and cultivators scheming against each other, and even counter-killing each other. Cultivators were not like soldiers. They did not have faith. They only believed in themselves and would work hard for others, but not their lives. At that moment, the nine-headed phoenix and the mystic snake also reacted when they felt the terrifying pressure. One soared into the sky and flapped its giant wings. The other coiled on the ground and screeched with its head held high. Their screeches and screeches pierced through metal and stones. They unleashed their bloodlines and a terrifying aura surged, causing the mountains to shake and the earth to tremble. Among the several figures, one of them was the fastest. He unleashed his Kuan-Peng Dharma form, and his giant wings slashed horizontally like heavenly blades. With a whoosh, as if a bolt of lightning had struck through the sky, the 9 heads of the 9-headed phoenix were all chopped off. Blood gushed out like a tide, and a huge bloody hole appeared in its chest. Its life was extinguished and it quickly died. To everyone's surprise, they saw a great cultivator standing in the air with his sleeves fluttering in the wind. In his hand there was an inch-sized nascent soul in the shape of a phoenix. It was struggling and screeching crazily. It was the nascent soul of the 9-headed phoenix. He is definitely a nascent soul cultivator. Many of the cultivators present were terrified. Even Chi Liqui's face was solemn. This person's cultivation was unbelievable. The 9-headed phoenix was so powerful that it could shatter heaven and earth with a single blow. Even a dozen nascent soul cultivators were sent flying and thousands of foundation establishment cultivators were killed. But now, they could not even withstand a single blow from him. Takong, my lord is here. Do you want to take the credit? Leave that mystic snake to me no matter what. A cold voice rang out, and another great cultivator flew over. He unleashed a lifeless law of the underworld. There were ghosts howling and corpses and skeletons floating in it. It was extremely terrifying. The law manifested like a yellow river across the sky, swallowing all vitality. It circled in the air, and the mystic snake struggled for a while before its vitality was cut off, and it died an unnatural death. That's right. The two who came were Mingi and Takong. How dare you kill my servant? I will take revenge. You will all die. The human-shaped immortal divine herb was furious. Its face was ferocious and it let out a sharp shriek. It moved its roots and ran away as fast as lightning. He was very special. From time to time, his body would sink and burrow into the ground. The next moment he would suddenly appear 10 kilometers away like a ghost. It's just a heavenly medicine. How many years have you had legs for? You still want to run? Ta Kong sneered. His figure flickered and chased after it. He raised his hand and grabbed the immortal divine herb in his hand. He slapped it until it fainted. He then flew to Qi Jiuyi's side and gave a signal to Jiang Tian. He whispered, "The Taichu Heavenly Lord is over there. Go and kowtow. Be more sincere when you admit your mistakes. Otherwise, even I can't save you. Brother, you're here." Jian'er's golden core was taken away and his cultivation was taken away. Madame Su was immediately overjoyed, and went to welcome him as if she had seen a backer. The person who came was the realm lord of this realm, Qi Jiuyi, her brother. In addition, there were some peerless overlords of the Kangwu Palace, the family heads of the major families, and a few half-heavenly lords. Also, she was quick-witted and immediately guessed. Takong and old monster Mingi must have been recruited by Qi Jiuyi and came to help. Speaking of which, the two of them had a strong background. They were old monsters who had become famous 1,000 years ago. They used to live in seclusion, but now they suddenly appeared. Also, they were the servants of the nascent soul executioner and unparalleled heavenly lord Kong Taichu, who had been feared in the Hailan world recently. Now the fact that Jiang Tian had killed more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 island was no longer a secret. Everyone in the cultivation world of the Yingzhou world knew about it. Jiang Tian even gained the title of nascent soul executioner. Everyone was struck with terror at the mention of his name. They were terrified to the extreme. His name was enough to stop children from crying at night. At this moment, Madame Su had already realized that the Dark Parasol Palace might have already contacted Jiang Taichu. Now if she wanted to take revenge and kill that independent cultivator surnamed Jiang, then it would simply be as easy as crushing an ant. Chapter 14:23. Young Master Jiang, although the immortal divine medicine is of great use to us, and we have to give it to a big shot, Liqui is deeply grateful to you for helping me so many times today. Qi Liqui looked worried when she saw Ta Kong get the immortal divine medicine. Then, she said respectfully to Jiang Tian, "My promise is still valid. Therefore, my promise is still valid. I will definitely ask my father to give you half of the immortal divine herb. Haha, don't force yourself. It was someone else who got it. I didn't do anything." Jiang Tian thought to himself, "That big shot is me." However, he still teased her. "Besides, your father should be very afraid of that big shot. He won't agree to it. Don't ask for trouble. It's okay. If he doesn't agree, I will steal half of it for you. I think he will just beat me up and punish me to face the wall for 10 years. Qi Liqui smiled sweetly. Her beautiful eyes curved into a crescent moon shape. There was a hint of mischievousness and amiability. Her peerless face was like 100 flowers blooming, brightening up the gloomy space. She was so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. Haha, facing the wall for 10 years is not light. When the time comes, I will send you food." Jiang Tian was overjoyed. At this moment, Madame Su suddenly knelt on the ground and cried. Jian'er's cultivation was destroyed by this cultivator surnamed Jiang. Qi Jiuyi was shocked when he saw Jiang Tian with his daughter. When he heard this, he was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He understood Su Jian's flamboyant and arrogant personality. He must have been killed because he offended Jiang Tian. He immediately said in shock and anger, "How can this little bastard be so insensible? How can he offend the mighty heavens?" Madame Su thought Qi Jiuyi was scolding Jiang Tian. She complained again. "This scoundrel wants half of the immortal divine medicine. Who doesn't know that the immortal divine medicine is the treasure of our Kangwu Palace? In order to obtain this precious medicine, our Kangwu Qi family has gone on dozens of expeditions. Many elite disciples and famous seniors have died. But he dares to ask for half of it. He dares to compete with our Kangwu Qi family. He is insatiably greedy and has wild ambitions." What did you say?" Qi Jiuyi was so shocked that he almost jumped up. The elixir of immortality was meant for Kong Taichu. Moreover, even if they gave it to him, Kong Taichu might not be satisfied and might not let the Dark Parasol clan off. After all, the Heaven Lord of Ravenous Wolf had previously cooperated with Long Shengnan to ambush Jiang Tian on the 18-disc islands. The Heaven Lord of Ravenous Wolf was the World Lord of the Ingzhou world 1,000 years ago. Even though he had stepped down from his position, he still had a close relationship with the Kangwu clan. Jiang Tian was entirely capable of pushing this debt to the Dark Parasol clan and annihilating every single one of them. He couldn't take it anymore and slapped Madame Su to shut her up. To his surprise, the place where Madame Su had just been turned into dust. However, she rose into the air before him and flew back to kneel at the feet of ancestor Takong. She moved forward step by step and said with extreme respect, "Senior, this disciple is Qi Jiuyi's younger sister. Please take action on behalf of my Qi family, and take revenge for me. Kill that scoundrel." At this moment, Ao Jiao couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "My young master has saved all of you many times. If it wasn't for him, all of you would have been eaten by demonic beasts and poisonous insects. Now you're biting the hand that feeds you? He crippled my son's cultivation. He deserves to die," Madame Su said with resentment. "He only has himself to blame for that. He tried to shirk his responsibility and wanted to kill first. Should my master stretch out his neck and be executed?" Ao Jiao retorted angrily. She didn't have a good impression of the Dark Parasol clan as a whole. Originally, the Dragon Gate world had once worshipped them, and they had promised to help if the true Dragon Ao clan was in trouble. But in the end, when the true Dragon Ao clan was in trouble, when the Dragon Gate world was plunged into misery and suffering, and when the flames of war were incessant, they just watched from the sidelines. Even Heaven Monarch Ravenous Wolf came out and wanted to help Long Shengnan kill Jiang Tian. They were treacherous and their promises were like farts. It could be said that apart from Qi Liqui, there was no good person in the Dark Parasol Qi clan. My son was just saying. Did he really do it? That Jiang fellow is so ruthless. He crippled someone's cultivation and destroyed their Dao. Madame Su's face turned red and white. She couldn't defend herself. "Little girl, what do you know?" Perfected Lord Black Gull also jumped out and scolded sarcastically. In this world, the Dark Parasol Qi clan is supreme. Their words carry weight, and they are the majestic emperor. Su Jian has half of the Qi clan's bloodline. He is a noble descendant and a dragon in the sky. You are just a bunch of itinerant cultivators, mortals, and lowly ants. If young Master Su Jian wants to kill you, you should kneel and submit. You should wash your neck and let him chop it off. Otherwise, you are challenging the emperor in the Dark Parasol Palace. The sarcasm on his face was extremely intense. It was as if Jiang Tian was a dead man. "Young Master Jiang, aren't you arrogant? Aren't you arrogant? Do you really think no one can stop you? You are an itinerant cultivator with no foundation. Are you a match for the Dark Parasol Palace? Do you dare to challenge Shi Jiui? Moreover, the Dark Parasol Palace is now acquainted with Kong Teichu. They are on good terms with the two nascent Soul Realm envoys under Kong Teichu. Haha, they are nascent Soul Realm executioners. Perfected Lord Black Gull, you are so shameless. The Su clan set up a back door in your black crystal battlesuit. If not for my master forcing the demon beast to retreat, you would have been dead. Now you are actually flattering the strong and trampling on the weak, speaking for the Su clan." Ao Jiao was about to explode. What kind of people were these? Dark Parasol Palace's Qi Jiui? Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was calm and relaxed. He smiled and said with a smile, "Who does he think he is? He is just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Ask him yourself. If I want to kill him, would he dare to resist or run away?" As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. No one dared to believe it. Even Qi Liqui was stunned. Her father, Qi Jiui, was here. How dare he speak so arrogantly? Su Jian crawled to his feet. His blood-stained face was twisted as he laughed crazily. "Ha ha ha, listen to him. Is he speaking human language? Does he think he is great just because he is a golden core cultivator? How arrogant. How arrogant. He is so arrogant that he doesn't know the immensity of the world. But he doesn't know that Emperor Jiui is a half-heavenly lord. He doesn't dare to resist? He doesn't dare to run away? He is just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. You are courting death. As he spoke, he glanced at Qi Jiui, waiting for Qi Jiui to unleash his thunderous power and kill Jiang Tian cruelly. But he didn't expect that. Qi Jiui's face was as pale as paper. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. Indeed. Young Master Jiang is right. The sinner doesn't dare to resist or run away. He can only wait to be slaughtered. What? Everyone was shocked and their hearts trembled. They felt that the situation didn't seem right. But what was even more shocking was yet to come. Qi Jiui felt as if his feet were filled with lead, heavy and difficult. He bowed his head and walked step by step to the front of Jiang Tian. He knelt down and kowtowed, using the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life. I, Qi Jiui, pay my respects to the unparalleled Heavenly Lord, Kong Te Chu. In an instant, there was dead silence in the sky and on the ground. In the nameless valley, the giant corpses of the mystic snake and the nine-headed phoenix were lying on the ground. Blood qi surged and the wind whistled. White fog, poison, spirit qi and auspicious colors intertwined. But everyone's face was pale. They were motionless like clay statues, turning into a still picture. They looked at the supreme Qi Jiui in a daze as he knelt in front of Jiang Tian, like a believer seeing a god. Jiang. Kong Techu. The muscles in Su Jian's eyes trembled, and his eyeballs almost popped out. Extreme fear enveloped his entire face. A bone-deep fear immediately enveloped his entire body and made him feel cold from head to toe. Chapter 1424. Even though he was far away in the Yingzhou world, Su Jian had also heard of Jiang Taichu's terrifying reputation. He was the one who had defeated the nascent soul heavenly lords from the Hailan world, the Nanman region, the Jade Lake, the Yingzhou world, Penglai world, the North Sea world and the Dragon Gate world. That was a terrifying killing god who had trampled more than 20 nascent soul heavenly monarchs under his feet. What was even more interesting was that he had killed more than 40 nascent soul heavenly lords by himself. That was why he was called the super executioner of the nascent soul heavenly lords. However, they had always thought that Kong Techu was far away from them. After all, they didn't belong to the same world. Kong Techu had just finished a fierce battle and needed to rest. He wouldn't come to this world easily. But then Kong Techu was right in front of them. All they could feel was fear and panic. He's Kong Techu. Mrs. Su was so scared that she fell to the ground. Her face turned pale, and her legs started to tremble. We're doomed. We're doomed today. Perfected cultivator Heo's face turned pale. He prostrated himself on the ground like an ostrich, and wanted to bury his head in the ground. The other cultivators who had offended Jiang Tian were terrified. They knelt on the ground and said that they had sinned. This was the person who had massacred the 18 islands and killed countless demons and heavenly monarchs. Even Long Shengnan, a prodigy on the God of War list, was captured by him. Even the high and mighty living fossil of the Yingzhou world was captured by him. Who would dare to offend him? Who had the right to offend him? Everyone finally understood why Long Pujuan would obediently follow behind him. Why so many demonic beasts would listen to his commands and help him search for the elixir of immortality. This person was far too cruel and terrifying. What? He's Kong Techu? Even Guard Guo was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian was neither warm nor angry from beginning to end. He was as calm as water, just like the boy next door. In any case, he could not connect Jiang Tian with Kong Techu, the infamous nascent soul stage executioner in the legends. He's so young. He's actually Kong Techu. Qi Liqui's beautiful eyes widened and were filled with shock. She didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so young and handsome. She thought he was an old man. However, at this moment, she felt a sense of lingering fear and relief. Along the way, she was respectful to Jiang Tian and did not offend him. Otherwise, he would be met with a fatal disaster. Princess Neil. At the side, the flower slave, whose face was filled with fear, gently pulled Qi Liqui. Only then did the latter come to her senses. She bowed to the ground and said, "Heavenly Lord, please accept my greetings." Even Tyrant Void and Old Monster Styx came to greet him. In a moment, the ground was full of people kneeling. Only Jiang Tian was left standing with his hands behind his back, wearing a black robe. He looked down at everyone like a god. Su Jian, I didn't kill you just now and only destroyed your cultivation. I'm already being merciful. In the end, you jumped out and spoke rudely. Do you think I, Kong Teichu, am easy to bully? Suddenly, Jiang Tian's gaze turned cold, and he shot toward Su Jian like two bolts of lightning as he questioned coldly. I know I'm wrong. Heavenly Lord, please be merciful and spare my life. I'm just an ant and a speck of dust. Heavenly Lord, you're high and mighty like the sun and moon in the sky. Please forgive me and let me go like a fart. When Su Jian killed someone before, he had also heard the person begging for mercy like this. He only thought it was ridiculous. How could a person give up his dignity and degrade himself in order to survive? Now he finally understood that it was natural to beg for mercy in front of the threat of death, and without any way to turn the situation around. Dignity is a fart compared to life. At this moment he was full of regret. The regret in his heart couldn't be washed away even if the 3 rivers and 5 seas were used. In fact, when he saw how powerful Jiang Tian's long Pejuan was, he should have realized how powerful Jiang Tian was. However, he had been living like a prince for a long time, and was used to being arrogant. When he saw that Jiang Tian was better than him, he was unhappy. Especially when he saw how close Qi Liqui was to Jiang Tian and how much he trusted Jiang Tian, he was even more jealous. He finally understood that he didn't have the right to be jealous of Jiang Tian. Even if Qi Liqui was the most beautiful woman in the world, she wasn't qualified to be Jiang Tian's partner. She was more suitable to be a maid. It's true that you're an ant. Originally, you could have lived peacefully with me. However, when you insisted on biting me, I should have slapped you to death. Jiang Tian coldly snorted and slapped down without any hesitation. Bang! Su Jian had already been deprived of his cultivation, and was just a mortal. How could he withstand it? He instantly exploded into a rain of sparkling flesh without leaving a single trace. Whoa! Madame Su cried like a bitch that had been beaten by a stick. Tears rolled down her face as she trembled. The entire place was dead silent. Everyone's teeth were chattering, and their faces were filled with extreme fear. Some cultivators looked at Qi Jiui, not knowing how he would react. Unexpectedly, Qi Jiui didn't even say a word. He lowered his eyes as if the one who died wasn't his nephew but a stranger. The most ruthless emperor family. Cultivators also cut off their emotions and desires, and their hearts were like diamond and boulders. Qi Jiui was both a great cultivator and an emperor. He had stepped on piles of bones all the way to his current position. Among these bones, there were his enemies, relatives, comrades, and fellow cultivators. In order to protect the throne and the position of the realm lord, he didn't even hesitate to kill his first imperial concubine. Why would he care about the life of a nephew? However, Su Jian had offended Jiang Tian, and almost brought the entire Kangwu clan into the fire pit. This was something he couldn't tolerate. If Su Jian died, so be it. However, if his Kangwu clan was destroyed and he lost his imperial power, it would be worse than killing him. If Jiang Tian asked, he would help hand over the knife. Is it painful? Jiang Tian looked at Madame Su as if he was looking at an ant and sneered mockingly. However, all of this is what you asked for. Your Su clan said that you would advance and retreat with us, but you set up a control backdoor in your crystal battle suits and treated me, Kong Teichu, and many other fellow Taoists as cannon fodder. Could it be that your lives are your lives? Are other people's lives not your lives? You're vicious, treacherous, arrogant, and have repeatedly offended me. Your Su clan deserves to die. Woo 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 woo. Madame Su continued to weep. Sparkling and translucent tears slid down her charming and dignified face, like a pear blossom in the rain. She looked weak and pitiful. Her slender and lustrous legs were spasming as she sat paralyzed on the ground. Her exquisite and delicate body was trembling lightly. Under her sobs, her full chest was also rippling like dazzling waves. She cried until she was out of breath, unable to say a single word. She was full of regret, but it was too late to say anything. In fact, Jiang Tian had already let the Su clan go once and only took Su Jian's golden core. He had done everything he could. However, they still jumped out recklessly to court death. Now a huge mistake had been made. She couldn't blame Jiang Tian at all. He couldn't even beg for mercy. Everyone below the heavenly monarch was an ant. It was fine that they provoked Jiang Tian once, but they provoked him again and again. What reason did they have to ask Jiang Tian to let them go? She only felt despair, deep despair. Anyone who offended such a peerless heavenly monarch would die, and no one could stop him. Since you're in so much pain, I don't want to see you suffer. I'll send you on your way and reunite with your bastard son. Slap. Jiang Tian slapped her again without any mercy or hesitation. Madame Su also exploded like a peony falling to the ground and crushing into dust. She died with endless regret. Chapter 1425. Heyo, we're all hired cultivators. To put it bluntly, we're all coolies and cannon fodder for the Su family. Jiang Tian looked at Heavenly Lord Heyo, who was trembling. Da-da-da. Perfected Lord Heyo wanted to cry but had no tears. His teeth were chattering. Jiang Tian looked up and sighed. Originally, we were all in the same boat and were comrades. We should have attacked and retreated together and supported each other. We might even have formed a deep friendship. But you still flattered the strong and stepped on the weak, demanding crystals. Even if the back door of the crystal battlesuit was exposed, you still colluded with the Su family and helped the evildoers. I'm really heartbroken that things have turned out this way. Before he finished speaking, Jiang Tian slapped Perfected Lord Heyo again and crushed him into meat paste. Even his golden core was shattered. At the side, many cultivators who had offended Jiang Tian were trembling in fear, as if they had lost their parents. They had all threatened Jiang Tian to hand over their rewards or mock Jiang Tian during the march. If Jiang Tian gave the order, they would all die. But they didn't know that they were not even worth a day in Jiang Tian's eyes. Jiang Tian couldn't even be bothered to kill them. It would only dirty his hands. My lord, well done. Qi Jiui was full of joy. This Qi Lily is sinister and vicious. She repeatedly offended the heavenly lord. She deserves to die. He looked at an important person of Kangwu Palace behind him and said coldly, bring a few elites back to Yong City and kill everyone in the Su family as an apology to the Grand Primordium Heavenly Lord. Yes. The golden core Perfected Lord nodded and flew into the sky with a few people. Jiang Tian pointed at Guo and said, this is Guo. He's loyal and trustworthy. Qi Jiui, you have to put him in an important position. Yes, Heavenly Lord. From now on, he's the city lord of Yong City. Yong City is his private fief. Qi Jiui said without hesitation. 1 year later, you will be promoted to Grand Marshal of the State and Commander of the Kangwu Guards. 3 years later, you will become the Grand Preceptor and address me as your brother. Boom. The crowd was in an uproar. Many cultivators looked at Guard Guo with envy and shock. Protector Guo was originally only in the early stage of the Oris Core realm. There were at least 1,000 people in the entire Yingzhou continent who were at his level of cultivation. Although he was the commander of the Su family's guards, he was just a high-ranking servant. The members of the Su family were always nitpicking and scolding him. How could they treat him as a human being? But now he had actually ascended to the heavens and occupied a huge city. He was rich and had a respected status. In the future, he would be the Grand Marshal and the Imperial Preceptor. He would be second only to one person and above everyone else. This was the legendary saying, when a man achieves the Tao, all his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Grand Primordium Heaven Monarch, how am I worthy? Guard Guo was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Happiness came too quickly, and he couldn't accept it. Brother Guo, if the absolute beginning Heaven Monarch says you can, then you can. Qi Jiui held his hand and said with a joyful face, hurry up and accept it. Don't let Grand Primordium Heaven Monarch down. Then I'll be disrespectful. Thank you for your help, Grand Primordium Heaven Monarch. Guard Guo knelt down with tears in his eyes. He solemnly cupped his fists and was extremely touched. In fact, he didn't do anything for Jiang Tian. He only said a few words for Jiang Tian, and tried to protect Jiang Tian. And with Jiang Tian's strength, there was no need for him to speak for him, no need for him to protect him. Jiang Tian gave him such a great benefit only because he showed some goodwill. Now no one doubted that if Jiang Tian asked Guard Guo to die for him, Guard Guo would definitely not hesitate. Master, the immortal divine medicine. Ancestral patriarch Takong offered the immortal divine medicine with a flattering face. Okay. Jiang Tian raised his hand and said with a smile, this medicine is 10,000 years old, and the essence qi it contains surpasses that of a large spirit vein. Its spirit qi is as pure as deity qi and is compatible with the grand Tao of heaven and earth. It can help me form a nascent soul with a perfected golden core, form a Dharma true seal with a Dharma body and transcend the limits of the divine wheel. Even though the undying divine medicine was knocked unconscious, it still flowed with brilliant colors. Multicolored light surrounded it, and a rich fragrance still wafted out. It refreshed one's mind, making one feel extremely comfortable. A 10,000-year-old immortal divine medicine. It's worth more than a city. Long Shengnen next to him was envious. 1,000 years ago, many cultivators from the Jade Lake world had come to Yingzhou to look for the immortal divine medicine, but they only found a root of this medicine. However, that root was cultivated and it grew branches and leaves. In 1,000 years, it had produced a few nascent soul heavenly lords in the Jade Lake world that showed the immense medicinal power of this divine medicine. And this stalk was the main medicine. Furthermore, it was 10,000 years old. It ate the wind and drank the dew, swallowing the essence of the sun and moon. Its medicinal power was probably more vast and pure, more than 10 times that of the immortal herbs in the Jade Lake world. At that moment, she realized that Jiang Tian's idea of using battles to nurture battles was very brilliant. Even though Yingzhou, North Sea, and Penglai were not as vast as Hailan world, their foundations were very deep. Once they were excavated and used, the benefits would be immense and the limit would be raised. If they were rash and rushed to fight the Ruins Emperor, they would miss out on the nourishment and be at a disadvantage. The Taotai origin returning law requires dark matter to be condensed. However, dark matter is too rare. In the future, I might not even find a piece in 1,000 years. Jiang Tian's eyes were fixed. Endless knowledge of cultivation flashed in his mind continuously. Soon he made up his mind and said, then I'll use the spirit qi and nourishment of this 10,000-year-old immortal divine medicine, and use the Transcendental 9 transformation art to forcefully convert it into dark matter. I'll then condense the true seal of the Taotai origin returning law and raise this Taotai divine body. Void Walker, protect me while I cultivate. I'll immediately consume and refine this immortal divine medicine, and break through again. Jiang Tian ordered with a flick of his sleeves. Yes. With Jiang Tian's order, Qi Jiui, who had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas, immediately ordered the Blackstone City's city lord to transport a large amount of building materials. In just a day's work, a palace was built to be Jiang Tian's training ground for seclusion. Long Pejuan also revealed his identity and ordered all the violent demon beasts to stay 100 miles away and not disturb them. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. The palace was completely made of purple crystals. Its value was immeasurable. It had a powerful aura and a dazzling glow. At that moment, the other cultivators had all returned, leaving only Patriarch Takong and the others to protect Jiang Tian. Qi Liqui and the flower slave also stayed in the name of taking care of Jiang Tian's life, and under Qi Jiui's pleading. Liqui, you've seen it too. Senior Taichu is very powerful and young. He can be called a genius. Before leaving, Qi Jiui pulled his daughter to a secluded place, and said with an unnatural expression, "Father, what do you mean?" Qi Liqui frowned and said, "Cough, cough. Don't you understand what father means?" Qi Jiui coughed and said, "You're not young anymore. You can't be alone for the rest of your life. I won't be at ease if that's the case. You don't like any of the young talents in the Yingzhou world. You also don't like the Northern Ocean world and the Penglai world. You have to seize the opportunity." "Father, I'm afraid that Senior Taichu might not like me." Qi Liqui looked at the tall and majestic figure from afar and her heart pounded. An intoxicating blush appeared on her face as she said shyly, to be honest, she had never seen a young man as talented as Jiang Tian in all these years. It was impossible to say that she wasn't tempted. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.